Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Spaced Out Radio Weekend. You're on with your host before the host. This is Elizabeth Anglin coming at you with some paranormal news, views, opinions, and various errata. Yes, E-R-R-A-T-A. That's what I meant, not E-R-O-T-I-C. Now you guys be good. I'm here tonight before James Tyson is coming on later with Karen Dahlman, the queen of the Ouija board, or, well, not really the queen, but she's written a good book about it called The Spirit of Ouija. And she is going to be talking with us tonight about ways to connect with spirit. And there are talking boards like the Ouija board, but there are other ways, as those of us who are spirit mediums can tell you. So she's going to tell us about how she does it and some of her other books, The Spirit of, oh my gosh, I've forgotten. There's just so many. She's written so many books, and she's going to be a great guest. And she has kind of a New Mexico Southwest bent to her. She went to the University of New Mexico, and so, it's kind of over in my neck of the woods. I know a lot of you are up in Cascadia and Vancouver and BC and Oregon and Washington. Well, we've got to get the southern lower part of the left coast involved here, so we're getting involved here on Spaced Out Radio. Yes, you are listening to Spaced Out Radio. You can find Spaced Out Radio at spacedoutradio.com, which you probably already know if you're listening, but you might be listening to us on Revolution Radio, which is coming at you from freedomslips.com. We want to give a great shout out to Revolution Radio listeners. We're here with you tonight on Studio B. And Revolution Radio is the only listener-supported, nonprofit, paranormal, conspiratorial, cryptozoological, really coolological radio network that you will find. So if you are listening at freedomslips.com to Spaced Out Radio on Revolution Radio, please consider sending them a donation, because that's the only way that they keep going over there at Revolution Radio, and that's how they bring us to you. And we love them for it. We go, we're just going to kiss you all, Huck. We kiss you. We kiss all of you people because you are wonderful at Revolution Radio. And here on Spaced Out Radio, we have a great team. James Tyson, Dave Scott, E Squared, Eric Markham, and the Eric Cooper, and Patrick Small, and more people coming at you all the time. Amber Avalona, who's also from New Mexico, my neck of the woods, is going to be coming on with a new show called Sightlines. We have so much going on here, and we're bringing more content and more people to connect with if you are an experiencer, because here on spacedoutradio.com and Spaced Out Radio, we are all about the experiencer. We are experiencers. We are talking to experiencers. We are not the hands-off researchers. We are the, if it's happened, let's talk about it. If you've experienced it, let's talk about it. So if you like being here at Spaced Out Radio, please consider becoming a Spaced Out Radio space traveler. Join the club. And I tell you, man, when I became an alien abduction experiencer and I met the first people who were going to be in my alien abduction support group, there was one guy who was like 6'5", 225 pounds, who had a facial tic and, looked like a really big, mean biker dude, scared the crap out of me. And I remember saying, I don't want to be a member of any club that guy is in. Of course, I was like 24 and stupid. He ended up being one of my best friends in life. And then after life, he's now on the other side. He's still one of my best friends. So join the club, because you know what? No matter what we look like, no matter how weird we sound, this is a good club to be in. And we have a club, Spaced Out Radio Space Travelers. We have our own chat room. You can listen to the archives of Spaced Out Radio. We will be soon doing a Spaced Out Radio Space Travelers only private interview with some luminary in the paranormal, abductological, cryptozoological, conspiratorial world, and many more things coming at you. So join the club, Spaced Out Radio Space Travelers. and get on chat on Facebook, because that's like where I like to go. If you're not on the Facebook chat, there is also the chat through Spreaker.com or spacedoutradio.com. When you come into our website, you will have a chat room pop up. One of us tries to be there. Sometimes it's more. Sometimes it gets confusing because it'll be Dave and Elizabeth and James all using the Spaced Out Radio moniker, and people will be like, "What? Huh? Who said that? You have like 3 distinct personalities." No, but we don't. We do have 3 distinct personalities, but we don't all have them in one single body, or as one consciousness. Okay, you know what I'm saying. We don't have a split personality. We're just 3 separate people who sometimes use the same moniker. So, Spaced Out Radio, Space Travelers, come on in to spacedoutradio.com. We are so happy that you're here. Tonight, my goodness, it's tonight. We have a lot going on in paranormal news, and it's all over the place. It's like this week, paranormal news just caught attention deficit disorder. Let's see what to begin with. Well, some of you may know this, and most of you may not. I am living in New Mexico. I have lived in Colorado and in Boston and Salem, Massachusetts, and all around Massachusetts, actually. But I am originally from Michigan. The first 19 years of my life were spent in that wonderful mitten state. If you ever meet a Michigander and they'll hold their hand, you say, "Where are you from?" and they hold their back of their hand up to you in the shape of a mitten and then point, realize that that's the shape of the lower part of Michigan, that they're trying to show you where on the map they're from. Anyway, we had a Michigan Bigfoot caught on live Eagle Cam, and this was not through the Paranormal News. It's not Paranormal News who caught it. It was on 9/15. Outdoor Hub is where you can find this. Outdoor Hub News 2016 09/15. Video Bigfoot sighting Michigan caught live Eagle Cam is how it goes. And if you go to Outdoor Hub and look for the story, you will find a video of what appears to be a possible Bigfoot down below an eagle's nest with these little fledgling eagles in it. But it could also be a person. It's hard to tell. Bigfoot looks a bit drunk in this, but the right color. This is not a hunter who's wearing orange. It's somebody who's definitely dressed in dark colors. There seems to be something going on. They're jumping over logs and trees, and this is up in Beulah, Michigan, where I've been, near the Platte River State Fish Hatchery. I've actually been to this neck of the woods. I rode my horse across the state of Michigan, and we rode to the Platte River State Fish Hatchery near Beulah. And there are a lot of trees there. I can tell you that. There are trees and more trees and a bunch of trees. But this is what Outdoor Hub has to say about the Michigan Bigfoot caught on live Eagle Cam. Quote, "There have been a number of Bigfoot sightings in Michigan lately, and we might have just caught another glimpse of one. We pulled some footage from our live Eagle cameras recently and discovered an unknown figure walking through the woods below the nest. The Eagle camera is located high up in the trees in the Platte River State Fish Hatchery near Beulah in northern Michigan." Excuse me, guys. We've been extremely fortunate to catch some really awesome footage of eagles in their nest with this camera. And when we saw this Bigfoot-type character walking through the woods, we didn't quite know what to make of it. However, the footage most likely shows a confused human wandering through the woods and not a cryptid. Yeah, the person does look awfully confused as they're going through the woods, or they just don't seem to know what they're doing. Anyway, watch the video to see for yourself, and then check out what the eagles have been up to on our live Eagle Cam. Actually, this is pretty good footage because I think I caught something that the people who posted it didn't catch. So if you're an SOR space traveler and you're listening to this, please go to outdoorhub.com news 2016/09/15 and check out the Bigfoot inset where they have the person walking. I actually thought I saw 2. And I think they're saying that they just saw one, but it looked like there was a dark person and then a little person next to them. And to me, if there are two, maybe it really is Bigfoot with young Bigfoot. Anyway, check it out and see if you see two or if I'm just imagining things, because I always think of Bigfoot running around the woods with their family members or stumbling in this case. Maybe Bigfoot found some wild turkey that some hunters left behind or something. And I mean wild turkey as in the whiskey, not the bird. Okay. Poland. Don't laugh. This is not so we can have Polish jokes for those of us who may have Polish parentage and ancestry. I don't know that I do. But we have mysterious Stonehenge and pyramids found in Poland. I actually think that Stonehenge and pyramids in Poland sounds right. I mean, Poland has a lot of stuff. And why not a Stonehenge and pyramids? So this is in Mysterious Universe, one of my favorite anomalist reading sources. MysteriousUniverse.org, 2016-09. Here is the story by Paul Seaburn. It seems like the new definition of cool among the world's nations is having pointed mounds that can be called pyramids and a stone circle that can be called your Stonehenge. Poland now has both, with an announcement of the discovery of a mysterious circle of stones surrounding a burial mound similar to the massive ones it calls pyramids. The Polish Stonehenge was discovered near Kazaplinec in the northwestern Poland. I'm sorry for those of you who know how to say Kazaplinec. It's Czaplinec. While archaeologists from the Koszalin Museum were analyzing a set of previously unknown burial mounds, as they searched the area around the mounds, they found three that were circled by stones that appeared to have once formed a similar configuration to those at Stonehenge, with some standing on and others atop them. The stones have fallen out, the archaeologists say, but there's no question that they were once in a stacked Stonehenge formation. Interesting. So that's what happens when stones fall out. Burnt remains were found in a burial urn, indicating that this may have been a site for ritual sacrifices in addition to burials. A bone pin, bronze buckle, and other artifacts in the urn point to the remains belonging to a woman. They also help date the site to between the 1st and 3rd century CE. The three stone circles are just the latest of a recent series of what some are referring to as history-changing findings in Poland. Earlier this year, archaeologists announced the discovery of more than a dozen massive burial mounds near Dolice in western Pomerania, so large that they were immediately dubbed the Polish pyramids. Found underneath an old forest, the burial structures were made in the shape of an elongated triangle and measured 3 meters high, 150 meters long, and 6 to 15 meters wide. Each appeared to contain only one corpse, and that was probably an elder or leader from the funnel beakers, a Neolithic and Mesolithic culture that lived in the area between the 5th and 3rd centuries BCE. These pyramids were also surrounded by stones, but their positions didn't lead the archaeologists to suspect a Stonehenge formation. But now they may go examine them again. Why are the Polish Stonehenge and pyramids considered history-changing? Historians in this Catholic country have promoted the idea that Polish Christians descended from a Slavic culture. These discoveries suggest that they were made instead by a Germanic culture or possibly even Celts. I say Celts. I say Celts are everywhere. Why? Because I'm a Celt. With a name like Anglin, you can't help but be a Celt. So I say Celts because Celts got around. We are just prolific and, prolific. I won't say the other word. Whoever built them, goes the story, the discoveries make Poland the newest member of the Stonehenge and Pyramids Club. Ha! Celts were everywhere. Everywhere! Celts ruled the world. And if you are from Boston, the Celts The Celtics, they ruled the world for a while. Okay. That being said, let's move on. You know that they have earthquakes in Europe? Well, and they had a big earthquake in Europe. They had a big earthquake in Italy this past month. We, as not so much Canadians, but we as Americans, Europe, where's that? Oh, right, there's like ISIS in France, and there's some terrorism. Do we think about Europe? Not enough. So this, again, is from mysteriousuniverse.org, and it is about, oh, geez, computer, don't you dare freeze up on me now. It's about earthquakes. But what can I tell you? My computer has frozen up on me, so I can't tell you anything. I could go back to Poland, because it's just dumb when your computer freezes up on you. Hold on. Is she? Oh, so, okay, so a voice from beyond, James Tyson from Beyond, who you can't hear, has told me that Joanna Bańka, our medium, is from Poland. And you know what? That's a good thing. I think with Stonehenge and pyramids and the fact that the Poles may actually be Celts, I can get behind that. I like that. Well, geez. James. Okay.
Hello.
Okay, never mind.
No, what do you mean, never mind? You dragged me all the way back from the kettle.
Sorry.
And
James likes to get tea. He's a real tea drinker.
I meant the kettlebells. I'm working out here and lifting 75-pound kettlebells up over. No, I'm not. I was going to get some tea.
He gets tea. He's a real tea guy. So for whatever reason, my computer has decided that it won't click through to anywhere worth reading anything about. So I guess I will just prevent James from drinking tea and ask him.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm now preventing you. Tell us what you know about. I mean, it's a little bit early, but what do you know about our guest Karen tonight?
Karen was born at a very young age in a small town. What would you like? What would you like to know about Karen? She's got a rattlesnake that comes into her backyard. It scares the jiggers out of me, even just watching the video on it. If you go to her Facebook page, Karen A. Dahlman, and that's Dahlman, she posted a picture of this lovely rattlesnake sliding through the patio, at which point I promised never, ever to go visit Karen. Because snakes and I, ever since I hit about 23, 24 years old, for some reason we no longer get along. And before that, I used to pick them up and play with them, and all of a sudden I got into an age where snakes were just a bad thing. I think it's just the movement out of the corner of my eye that was freaking me out.
So snakes began to freak you out when they didn't freak you out before?
Yeah, I used to pick them up and play with them.
Now, do you have very many venomous snakes in Canada? In the snow?
We have Daryl and and two Bobs. So we got three of them. We have one. We just have rattlesnakes here. So
you do. Do you have Diamondback or Western Diamondback?
We have, not in my area. They're up into the higher, hot, deserty plateau areas. But we're not supposed to tell you people in the United States we actually have deserts. Shh.
Well,
it really is just a big wall of ice right at the 49th parallel.
I heard that. Somebody told me that. I think it was Dave told me that it's really dry below Alberta. Or in Alberta.
Alberta.
The Alberta BC line.
You get into central South British Columbia, it's desert and sagebrush and rattlesnakes. And when you get into Alberta, on the other side of the Rocky Mountains. You're on basically the same plateau as Montana, Idaho, all that. So you're up on up high, and it is bloody dry. Like snow doesn't melt there; it just disappears. You don't get puddles of snow or puddles of water when the snow disappears. You just get snow that's no longer there, and brown grass, and bison, and bouncing little deer.
Tumbleweeds. And deer and antelope. You have antelope in Alberta.
We have the deer and the cantaloupe play. We have the pronghorn antelope, which is for Alberta, it's like their provincial bird or whatever. And the and bison, the French bison. It's all, the prairies are all just like your northern prairies. Just they get a good blizzard of very, very dry snow. And when it rains, it's very, very dry. It's a dry rain. Did you guys get dinosaur bones up there, like in Wyoming and Montana? We have a place I went to a place called Drumheller, and there's a huge museum there, and it's in the Badlands. There's hoodoos and canyons of all cool colors, and as there was a flood about 4 years ago, and exposed a crap more pile of dinosaur bones. Huge amount. They're still going through the amount of bones that exposed from 4 years ago. When I was there this August, you could watch the people chipping away at the stuff, and they still have. If you're bored in this summer and you're a high school kid and you want to go, you're interested in dinosaurs and not afraid of rattlesnakes, you can go sign up and go poke around and work on some of the digs. They'll teach you how to do a little bit of the archaeological dig of it, and you kind of do the labor part, the brushing and the shoveling, and you don't get too picky around on the dinosaur bones themselves. That's something. They cut them up. They cut them out of the stone and then lift them up by helicopter and take them to the museum where they're processed. Yeah, there's tons of it down there.
Wow. So we actually have to change my entire worldview of Canadians, that it's all snow and ice. You actually have a desert, northern desert.
Snow and ice. Do not come here. Big wall. Big wall of ice. Invitation only signs on it. Well, it depends how your election goes. So, oh no, please stay there. It's normal. It's just it's an extension. When I went from southern Alberta on my motorcycle down into Montana, Idaho, and Washington State, and it's same landscape. Except you have in Montana, Idaho, which literally is maybe 70 or 80 miles south of the Canadian border, you have wild turkey. We don't have wild turkeys up here. So it's kind of cool. No.
You like literally do not have any wild turkeys. That is the oddest thing I've ever heard.
Well, I think they were killed off by the dinosaurs.
No, they're the most ubiquitous sort of Rocky Mountain bird that you can find, and the Native Americans will use, turkey feathers are for gratitude, and you can use turkey feathers for
smudging and
abundance.
Yeah. Well,
smudging.
We may have them, but not in any part of British Columbia or Alberta that I've been in.
Uh-huh.
I did see 3 on the side of the road, a mother and 2 young ones, looking puzzled at their brother/sister who was in the driving lane in a puff of feathers, and they're looking at it going, come on, Bob. What are you doing there?
Yeah.
You don't look the same as you did just a second ago when we crossed the road. Yes, it was kind of odd. And I went through Banff National Park, full of grizzlies and moose and elk, and went to an area where there are antelope, the pronghorn antelope, and I went all through this great ride. I saw one deer, the flock of turkey. I got home and there was a bear sitting in my backyard eating pears from the pear tree. I went all that way through these huge national parks in Canada, through state parks in like the the northwest of the U.S., nothing. It was nothing there. And I get home and there's a bear in my backyard eating pears.
Now, was it a black bear or brown bear?
Black.
Well, that's better than a brown bear, but yeah, black bears can still eat you, but your bear had pears, so
yeah, we have bears all over the place. Safe. There's my daughter yesterday was in her high school. They went out on a little biology walk with their teacher to a park that's across the street from them. And they're walking through this park, and the two groups broke up. So the teacher went with one group, and my daughter's in this other group. They're all about 14 years old, and they're walking along, and they see a bear. And the bear looks at them, and it's probably last year's cub, so it's only, you can't see my hand, but I'm raising it off the ground. It's about 3.5 feet high at the butt. And it looks at the kids, and it starts walking the same direction down the path as they're going. So they give it some time, and they keep walking. And then eventually the bear turns off, so they all stop, and they give the bear some time, and then they start walking. So they get up to where the bear turned off. Bear is now 15, 16 feet in the bush, sitting on his butt like something out of a Disney cartoon, looking at all the kids. So they look at it and just keep walking. So the bear lets them all walk by, and then the bear gets back out on the path and starts walking behind them, which is all it wanted to do. It wanted to go that direction, but it didn't want a bunch of kids behind it. So he just said, you guys go first. I don't trust you. But that place is full of bears.
Yeah, that's what I experienced, that we had bears up in Colorado, and there was one year that one of the youngsters, because Mama makes them go away when they're yearlings. Mama says, that's it, you're out of here, you're on your own. And they get lonely, and so they tend to, in Colorado, I had a situation where I had a yearling that was just hanging around because he was lonely. He didn't know where he belonged. Mama had just said, that's it, you're out of here. Goodbye. See you, go do your thing. And, freaked out the horses, freaked out the dog, freaked out everything else. But it was just a lonely little bear. And you just want to go up to him and cuddle him and say, it's okay, little bear.
Yeah, don't do that.
Anyway, yeah, don't do that.
We had some tourists from a country just south of us. They were up around Jasper, and they put peanut butter on their kid's face so the bear would lick the face while they took the picture.
Oh, no!
Did
the kid get bitten? Did we talk about that? Did that kid get bitten? Or chomped?
Yeah, the kid got bitten in the head and the face, and the parents just couldn't figure out why the bear would have done that. It was just some peanut butter on its face. It could lick it.
Yeah. The kid must be full of peanut butter, and peanut butter is yummy.
Yeah. That's a good idea. Just spread it on your kid's face, you bozo. Yeah. I don't know. Like I said, we're building a wall. Hey, do you want to know some really cool stuff about our friend? Karen Dahlman?
Yeah. Yes, I do. I'm looking at her website. Oh. Well, I'm looking at her website, but my computer is still stuck. So, I click on About, nothing happens. I click on Watching Video, in the media, nothing happens. So, yeah, tell me about Karen. Oh, here, I got about Karen A. Dahlman.
For crying out loud. So I can go get my tea now while you talk about her?
Sure. I'm going to tell you what Karen's website says, so James can go get tea and then come back.
And I'll be back right after my tea.
Yes, he'll be right back. So Karen A. Dahlman, she is our guest tonight. Her website is creativevisionspublications.com. And this is actually something that did come up on my computer, so I can read it to you. Karen believes that self-empowerment is the key to living an abundant, connective life. As you plug into the consciousness of your higher self, you step into your empowered center, unveiling the person you are meant to be and to express within the world at large. Ms. Dahlman received her BA and MA degrees from the University of New Mexico. New Mexico. From Karen's background and practiced as a licensed and board-certified art psychotherapist, professional counselor, and hypnotherapist in private practice. She writes about ways to personally transform into your greatest self. Within paranormal and metaphysical circles, Karen is known as a leading expert in Ouijaologist. Since 1973, Karen has been directly communicating with her spirit friends via the Ouija board and through other means. She is a channel for a collective group of light beings of source wisdom who come forth to share the wisdom of the ages and divinely inspired messages that help us discover our greatest joys and possibilities for living the life of our dreams through self-empowering choices. Karen invites you to tap into and unleash your own unique forms of creativity in her first book, The Spirit of Creativity. In her second book, The Spirits of Ouija, she helps you evolve beyond the stereotypical and societal beliefs about what happens when a person dies, while teaching you how to communicate with deceased and discarnate spirits. In her most recent book, which is her third book, The Spirit of Alchemy, Karen continues the exploration into the expanses of being by taking you on a journey to connect and be in communication with your higher self, spirit guides, and source wisdom, while opening yourself to a synchronistic mystical experiences as the norm in your life. Whew, that's a lot. So that's what Karen's going to be talking about tonight, all three of her books. Currently, Karen continues to push the boundaries of consciousness as she explores, researches, and communicates with this expansive and sentient source energy. So you can look her up on creativevisionspublications.com. She has sessions and workshops. She's also an artist, so she has work in galleries. I think it's going to be a great show. We've been doing a lot of work with like Barry Strom with the Ouija board, talking to his alien friend Moo through the spirit board or the Ouija board. I am a spiritualist evidential medium, and in my training, because what happened is I took class and then my guides took over. I actually had friends die that year. It was like I was told to go to class, and then I had these friends die at the end of class, and they took over, and it just became more of a practice as you go kind of situation. But there have been spirit tables, and spirit tables are, like the Ouija board, spirit tables have been in use since the beginning of Spiritism and or spiritualism if you're in North America. Spiritism is kind of the spiritualist movement is called in Europe and in South America. And there was a gentleman named Allan Kardec who came up with a spirit table. And interestingly, I have a Reiki student of mine who lives in South America, and he lives at La Ciudad Eclectica, which is a spirit medium town. Like the entire town is filled with healing mediums and evidential mediums and mediums who use the spirit board, and they will channel information about herbs and to use in healings, and they'll do natural healing. And they'll also have people come into their temple, their spiritualist temple, and do healings on them there. And this is a big deal in Brazil. So the spiritualist movement had two different sorts of how it was accepted and integrated into North American society, and how it was accepted and integrated into South American society was completely different. It was more accepted and more integrated more fully into South American society because, they had slaves coming over from Africa who were already spirit mediums who, they would channel Igun, the god of war, or Oshun, or other Nigerian sort of Congo African spirits would often be channeled. And so in South America, the slaves that came over brought that culture, from Europe, you had the Spiritists coming. They merged, and you have now sort of straight Spiritists who consider themselves to be of the light and working with source energy. And then you have some that'll work with Igun and Oshun and the African spirits, the African deities. And then you have some that will even do black magic. Which is something that is known also in the African circles, or they do some work for the dark, but it was more fully integrated and accepted throughout the culture, especially in Brazil, than it was in North America. What happened in North America is that people tended to concentrate more on evidential mediumship versus healing mediumship. People were not looking as much because we had what we considered to be a more, people could read, people went to college, we had a lot more doctors, we had heroin and codeine and opiates and all sorts of things to stop pain. We had really good drugs up here in North America, or not good, but drugs that made you feel good. And two very different mindsets. We also had sort of the Roman Catholic, no, you can't channel a spirit, that would be witchcraft. And so what happened to the spiritualist movement is that it did thrive and continue in places like Boston and Lilydale and northern New York and in spiritualist / Quaker communities, especially through sort of along the 47th parallel from New York across to Michigan and Indiana and Ohio. But we had people who were always decrying what spirit mediums said, that no, you can't get good information. No, these people are frauds. No, you can't do spiritualist healing. And so what we ended up with were very small pockets within regular secular American and I don't know about spiritualism or spiritist movements in Canada, but regular secular, these small pockets of spirit mediums working together, working side by side in places like Lilydale and other small communities across from Boston to the Midwest. And that's it. Whereas if you were to go to Brazil, you have whole cities who, everyone in the entire city is some sort of a spirit medium, is connected with spirit in some way. They may be working in a clinic. They may be doing psychic surgeries or spiritualist surgeries, working with a doctor in spirit. It's just how it's been integrated is so incredibly different. And the table, like the Ouija board, the Kardec table or the spirit table, is known and used within the temples, and it's something that, it's just part of what they do within their communities. So you call them healing cults, which in a sense they are. But that's how, but it's also healing communities, healing towns, whole towns. And they are communities in the sense that they are communes, that if everybody is working for the same thing, they're doing it communally, they're doing it all together. And that's how Spiritism has sort of manifested over time in the two different places. There's a lot more of it in South America. It's much more accepted. People understand it. And even up through the Caribbean as well, and Haiti and different places. But here, ooh, that's not scientific. Ooh, that's evil. Ooh, those people are witches. We just had a lot of Western Europe, people who were from Western European countries who were not open and not as integrative to spiritualism and spiritism from the mid to late 1800s to now. So a little bit of a history, geographic history unfortunately, sorry Canadians, I'm American. I don't know anything about Canada. So like even if like there was a wall, I couldn't like figure out how to get through it because like I'm American and like it's a Canadian wall and there must be like a button or something, but there's no sign. But no, I'm sorry. I don't know much about spiritualism in Canada. Maybe somebody can fill in there. I wonder if James has had his tea yet and if he is willing to come back. Because
maybe.
Oh, look, there's rustling.
There's rustling. There's rustlers out there. Damn your eyes. I was just chatting in the chat room in a chatty way.
It did it. Was it a chatifying?
What?
Was it a chatifying experience?
It was a chatifying experience. I was talking about my tea. Yeah.
And what kind of tea did you get yourself?
I have no idea.
Dang it! How can you just...
it was a hit and run.
You know, I could send you some tea and, you know...
Oh, don't. It'd be like sending coals to Newcastle.
What?
It would be like sending coals to Newcastle.
No. I mean, I could send you some tea because you won't even check what it is. And you could have a very interesting show.
Yeah. Oh.
By the time you're done drinking that tea. Because you wouldn't even check. You wouldn't even look at it and say, what'd you send me? It's a little packet. It looks like tea. I think I'll put it in some hot water. By the end of the show, you'll be like, are you seeing colors? I taste orange. This is purple tasting.
I'm listening to the colors. Yes. Hold on a sec. There we go. That was me not spilling the tea on my keyboard. Shh, don't tell Dave. My new keyboard's not here yet.
Oh, and do you have honey in that tea that you didn't spill it on the keyboard?
I have honey from the Outlaws farm, where they allow the guy to put his hives on if they get paid in 5-gallon buckets of honey. So we get another 5 gallons, which will last about a week and a half. No, last a lot longer than that. No, we got fancy honey. We got fancy honey, none of that store-bought honey. Honey.
That's pretty good.
Thank you. So, I've been spreading the news about Karen, and I've been spreading the news about you, which I've got some really weird responses. But that might be just because it's you.
What is the news about me?
No, I'm kidding. I'm just sending off little bits and links and things all about you chatting about the paranormal update, which you were until your computer went for a... And then...
Yeah, it took a dive. And it's still... Wait, no.
You're out in the middle of nowhere. It could be the hot air balloons that you're having this weekend. Or the hot air that I have all weekend.
So let me tell you about the hot air balloons, because actually I have a story, a horrifying story about hot air balloons.
Should I sit down?
You might want to sit down. So if you've ever lived in Corrales or Rio Rancho, New Mexico, which is on the west side of the Rio Grande River, and Albuquerque is on the east side of the Rio Grande River. I lived in Corrales, New Mexico for a little over a year, and Balloon Fiesta came around, and of course what they have in the northern end across from Corrales and Rio Rancho is Balloon Fiesta Park, which is this really big, long park next to an electrical generating station. Now, you would think that it would not be the smartest thing in the world to throw hot air balloons up in conjunction with a bunch of electrical wires. And in fact, they have found out that sometimes it has disastrous effects. And there were 2 people who were killed in 1993 for just that thing, that they slammed their balloon into the high tension wires that went to the electrical station. But never mind that, because we're Americans. We can just figure it out, right? Anyway, Balloon Fiesta Park is right across the river. And I forgot that it was the first day of Balloon Fiesta in, 2008. And I was out with my horses in taking, doing my morning chores with horses. And balloons go up early in the morning because the winds pick up later in the day. So they will start to launch balloons at 5:30, 6 o'clock in the morning, and all the balloons will be down by 8:30 or 9 o'clock. And do you know how you stop a balloon, James? Like when it comes down, do you know how you get it to stop and not keep blowing across the land?
Ropes
And a bunch of people. Yeah. You basically have a bunch of people in cars travel around behind your balloon, and when your balloon starts to go down, they have to find out how to get to the field it's going down in, jump out of their cars, chase your balloon across the field. So you really want to get your balloon down before it starts to get windy, because otherwise you just go bumping across the ground and it really hurts and things get all smashed and it's quite dangerous. So they bring the balloons down early. Anyway, I forgot it was the first day of Balloon Fiesta. So I'm out picking my paddock, throwing, horse poops here and out of the paddock and feeding the horses and doing some water. And I had this problem with ants, hunter ants on the far side of the paddock. And I decided to go and see if my solution to keeping the hunter ants in their area was working. And I'm walking across the paddock, and all of a sudden I hear this sound that makes me think there's a dragon right behind me that is about to eat me. I'm about to be both incinerated and eaten at the same time. And it's like this. And I fall to my knees thinking, holy crap, there's a dragon behind me and I'm about to die. And I must have just cracked up the people in the balloon who had decided to come in low to check out my horse paddock and horse situation, and were then taking off again and hit the flamethrower to heat up the air. I fell on my knees and kissed the dirt because I was so freaking scared. So what you want to do is be aware if there are balloons in your area so that you don't die of a heart attack when some balloon sneaks up behind you, because they're incredibly silent unless they're hitting the hot air, and unless they're hitting the flame. They are incredibly silent. They have no motors. They have nothing. It is the calmest, coolest. I've been in balloons. It's so calm. It's so quiet. But they can sneak up on you, and then they'll do the dragon thing. Oh, I lived. I'm still here.
Do you drink heavily?
No.
I understand the sound. I've heard that rush of when they pull the lever and fire that thing up again. I was I was in Southern California at a balloon fest, Beach Boys concert-y kind of thing, and it was kind of cool. And and the shapes. Oh my gosh, they weren't just like balloon shapes. They were houses and Snoopy's and Trump's hair and all sorts of things. It was amazing. And then we went to a Jimmy Buffett concert, and I have no memory after that. But
there was probably a parakeet or a parrot balloon.
Oh,
somewhere.
Probably good parrot head.
Yeah,
I've been a parrot head all my life.
Yeah. Well, and that's like, I did look up one of the stories. I was looking up something to talk to you guys about there was supposedly a strange UFO that landed in Ireland near Belfast. And I couldn't find the story on it. And Dave was talking about it last night. And I wanted to find the story, and I couldn't find it. But I did find a video of something that looked like an oddly shaped hot air balloon from
Dave.
Belfast.
Oh, I see.
No, it was from 3 years ago. Yeah, Dave would be like the scariest hot air balloon. James!
James, come here. To me, dragons all sound like, what's his name? Sean Connery. I am your dragon.
Oh!
Yes. Yeah, that's... So anyway, you saw this report of dragons in Belfast in the UK.
No, hot air balloons that were weird shaped. So basically, It was supposed to be a UFO, but I really think it was a question mark shaped hot air balloon for some organization that created a special shaped hot air balloon. But the person who was taking the video was moving their own video all over the place, so it made it look like it was jumping around. But you could tell from the clouds and the trees that the person was just like shaking their camera. So I didn't find the thing that Dave was talking about, which was something that actually landed that the government picked up and took away in Ireland. So I don't know if what he was saying was true or if he was just throwing that out there to see what we'd say.
Well, from your story, one of the things I want to look up is hunter ants. Because it sounds like that Hunter Ants was the quarterback for Iowa State. Like it was like, hi, my name's Hunter Ants. I got drafted
Hunter
7th
ants.
in the... Yeah, it's bizarre.
So hunter ants are like fire ants, but they don't hurt you quite as much, but they still hurt a bunch. They make a big mound, and if you trip, and basically they have a pheromone, like a sensor system, like in Star Trek, and if you walk across their border for their pheromone sensor system, they have these guardians of their mound who will immediately go towards you as fast as they can possibly go, climb up your leg, and bite the crap out of you.
Oh.
And so anything, small animals, cats, dogs, little people, horses can be bitten by hunter ants because once you've tripped their trigger, they will go straight for you, and it really, really hurts. So you have to be careful when you see an ant mound in the desert that they're like fire ants. Hunter ants are they operate on the same principle. The reason they all swarm and bite you is that you've set off their alarm system, and they're trying to protect their ant colony from you stepping on
front door. Really?
Yeah.
See, now I got another list of things I don't want to bump into. Don't want to bump into Karen's rattlesnake.
Nope.
Funnel web spiders. Actually, anything that crawls, flies, or jumps out of a hole in Australia. Or that's in the water. That I'd have to wear nylon stockings on my arms, legs, and torso. Oh, I just want to go for a swim. No, you've got to look like this. Screw it. And fire ants and hunter ants. We have fire ants have remarkably shown up here. And that's not cool. I think they're fire ants, or they're something else that they actually will sense you in the area and attack you.
Yeah, they could be hunter ants. They could be fire ants. Yeah.
You know what? I'd love to sit and talk, but I've just got the fancy tone music that says it's bye-bye time.
Bye, guys. Love you. See y'all later.
And see you, too. Thanks very much, Elizabeth Anglin. Go see her on Facebook. Say hi.
specials and choose from their many energy products. You won't be sorry. Visit them today at purpleplates.com for mind, body, and spirit, and expect a miracle.
Patrolling the Pacific Northwest, we are always on the lookout for the strange and unassuming stories that real people are experiencing. Hi, I'm Vincent Zunza from Pacific North Weird. Me and Alexandra Sullivan have teamed to bring to you those odd stories that never seem to make it into the mainstream. Stories so weird that will leave you scratching your head wondering, is this real? It's as real as it gets with Pacific North Weird. You can watch our videos right here at spacedoutradio.com.
It's time to go live on Spaced Out Weekend.
13, please. Oh, hi, Kevin. Oh, is that the time? Kevin, my friend, don't you find that watch just a little bit loud? Well, I certainly hope our buddy Bumblefoot is playing when we get there. Oh, you stinky big bundle of hair. I said Bumblefoot, not Bigfoot. Oh, it's going to be a long night.
It's time to head to the 13th floor of the old log cabin for Spaced Out Weekend with James Tyson. You can tweet James at James Tyson SOR. You can find him on Instagram, Spaced Out Weekend, as well as on Facebook. On YouTube, our channel is Spaced Out Radio Show, and you can check out our website, spacedoutradio.com.
Little brother has taken control, shoveling dirt in every hole. Predators to condemn your soul, watching you and watching me. We're all connected but separated, misunderstood and so frustrated. A million armies of one have invaded, watching you and watching me. We live behind glass curtains and act like nothing's wrong. Soon you will belong. I know you're out there somewhere. We've watched you for so long. Wait for you to fall. We'll expose you all. I know you're out there somewhere. Watch it there.
Ladies and gentlemen, the story you are about to see is true. The names have been changed to protect the innocent.
And now, perched high in his captain's chair, way above the clouds, here's James Tyson.
Welcome back, everybody. It is me, broadcasting to you from my little log cabin on the 13th floor of the Spaced Out Radio Network here in the paranormal portals of the lower left Canadian coast, or what we like to call Cascadia, because eventually we're taking over. Basically, Northern California to Alaska is going to be our own little paradise, where all the rain comes, and we'll share it with you. And tonight, as we've been talking about with Elizabeth Anglin, we have for you Karen A. Dahlman. Now, Karen is a special lady. She actually caused the spirit of my father to come through and grab my collar and pull me back into my chair the last time she was on. So I'm trying not to have that happen again. I'm going to respectfully kind of, okay, Dad, I promise I won't do this stuff. But Karen believes that self-empowerment is the key to living an abundant, connective life. Now, as you plug into your consciousness of your higher self, you step through your empowered center, unveiling that person. And as I'm saying this, I keep thinking that, well, how can I even put it? it's just a spiritualness that I find so enlightening through Karen and her works. She wants you basically to, that step into your empowered center, unveiling that person you are meant to be, and express yourself within this large world. Now, I'm kind of paraphrasing in her bio, because these sentences that describe her are very superficial. There's a lot more you could read into these sentences once you get to know her by just looking at her Facebook page to start with, and her website. Now, she received her BA and MA degrees from the University of New Mexico. Now, from Karen's background and practice as a licensed and board-certified psychotherapist, professional counselor, and hypnotherapist in private practice, she writes about ways to personally transform into your greatest self. Now, if you wanted to transform into your greatest self, you're going to need somebody to help you on that path. And it's a lot easier if you haven't quite connected with those others yet. Grab somebody like Karen, who's actually on the same plane as us, and she'll set you on that path. Now, within paranormal metaphysical circles, Karen is known as a leading expert or Ouijaologist. If I said that right, Karen. Since 1973, way before she was even born, Karen has been directly communicating with her spirit friends via the Ouija board and through other means. And we're going to talk about some of those other means too tonight. She's a channeler. She is a channel for a collective group of light beings of source wisdom who come forth to share the wisdom of the ages and divinely inspired messages that help us discover our greatest joys and possibilities for living the life of our dreams through self-empowering choices. Now, Karen invites you to tap into and unleash your own unique forms of creativity in her first book, The Spirit of Creativity. In her second book, The Spirits of Ouija, she helps you evolve beyond the stereotypical and societal beliefs about what happens when a person dies, while teaching you how to communicate with deceased and discarnate spirits. In her most recent book, which is her third book, The Spirit of Alchemy, Karen continues exploration into the expanses of your being by taking you on a journey to connect and be in communication with your higher self, spirit guides, and source wisdom, while opening yourself to synchronistic and mystical experiences as the norm within your life. Currently, Karen continues to push the boundaries of consciousness as she explores, research, and communicates with the expansive and sentient source energy. In layman's term, Karen continues to ascend. Her energy, I know, is not at the end of its little trip higher in her vibration. Karen, how are you tonight?
I'm doing well, James. How are you?
I am fine, and that's all the time we have for tonight. Thanks very much, Karen, and we'll.
Thank you. Good night, everybody.
Holy cow! And sorry for fumbling over your bio. I kept reading it, going, "Oh, you're way more than this."
Well, I hate to bore everybody too, because Elizabeth already read the same thing when you were getting your tea. So,
what? And she probably read it way better
twice.
For those of you who just tuned in.
There you go.
Yeah. Karen, one of the things that I found was fascinating was this is from last time, when we first spoke, you kind of took us back to 1973, and you discussed what really happened when you, as a little kidling, were first introduced to the Ouija board. Can you bring our listener up to speed before we get into the other ways of communications?
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. And I want to go back a little further than that. Can I? To the age of 2?
No. Yes, of course you can.
Okay, forget it. Okay.
No, of course you can.
We're going to have fun tonight, guys. I never take myself too seriously, and I think we can traverse these realms we're going to talk about tonight if we have a little humor with it and a little fun, and there'll be seriousness too. So yeah, I wanted to go back to the age of 2 because that is when I actually started communicating with spirit in a way that just seemed so natural to me. And I had no idea that other people didn't do this. So I had a little friend, and I write about him in my 3rd book, The Spirit of Alchemy. His name he's still around. His name is Daki, D-A-K-I. And he came to me and would talk to me and play with me and all kinds of things. And my mom would always say to me, "Who are you talking to?" I said, "Daki, right here." And she said, "There's nobody there. Quit acting like a fool. Quit being crazy. There's nobody here." And I said, "Yes, Mother, there's somebody here." So that's when it started for me. And I realized at a very young age, 2, 3, 4, 5 is when I kind of was working with Daki, that I realized I shouldn't say too much to people because if I do, they may think I'm cuckoo. So I kind of put Daki aside at the age of 5. Here I was going to go to school, kindergarten. In the United States, we go at the age of 5. And I decided that at that young age that I shouldn't tell people about Daki and that I was going to put Daki away because, after all, people called him make-believe. Now Daki was not. Yet, so I went to school and I progressed further knowing, memories of Daki, but yet knowing something else was out there because I was in communication with something beyond that other people could see. And henceforth, move forward to 1973 when I was 8, I found out about the Ouija board. And it was a very interesting story, and this is what James is wanting me to tell you. I had 2 little girlfriends that lived down the street from me. And they invited me into their room to play some games. And we would play things like Candyland or Monopoly or Straw That Broke the Camel's Back, Barrel of Monkeys. We just played all kinds of games. So they pull out this new game, and it was the Ouija board. And I said, "What is that?" And they said, "Well, it's called the Ouija." They called it Ouija board. And I said, "What do you do with it?" And they said, "Well, you put your hands on this little planchette." The planchette, for those who don't know what it is the little indicator that moves around the board. Nowadays, it has felt tip pads on it. Back then, it did too. Originally, it had little caster wheels on it. So you put your fingers on it. They said, "It moves." I go, "That's stupid. You're pushing it. What fun is that?" They said, No. Watch this." And they moved around, asked them silly questions. And they said, "Why don't you try it?" So I put my hands on the board, the planchette. I said, "I'm not pushing it." And I decided to ask a question. And I asked this silly, stupid question. I said, "How do you spell relief?" Now, James, I don't know if you had that commercial in Canada.
Yes.
You probably did. Oh, you did? Okay.
Yeah.
So you know the answer. It's ROLAIDS, right? Rolaids?
Yep.
So sure enough, the board spelled that out, and we laughed, thought that was funny. And he said, "Well, but look, that's so silly, but let me show you what we really do with it." The 2 sisters got back on the board, and they started some kind of communication. And they told me it was spelling words back to them, and sometimes sentences, sometimes just a few words. But it was very friendly. And I said, "Who is that?" And they said, "Well, it's our dead sister." I said, "What? You have a dead sister? And you can talk to her?" I had no idea. One of the girls in the room had a twin sister when she was born, and it died shortly after death. And so the cool thing was, to me, was that, okay, you're talking to her, let me try. So I got on there and started talking to her too. And what was interesting to me was she died at a very young age, like right around the age of 1-ish. Yet she was the age of the older girl in the room who was 10. So she was also growing up and progressing on the other side of the veil, the other realm. She too was growing up and still hanging out with these girls. And I said, "Do you tell your parents about this?" They said, "No, they don't believe us." And I thought, okay, I get it. So I was so excited about this. To me, it confirmed everything I learned in religion. I was at that time being raised as a Catholic, and we'd go to church and did everything, CCD, Sunday school, catechism, all those things. And I ran home to tell my parents that it's true. The dead are alive and you can communicate with them. And I just did down the street on a Ouija board. They said, "Sure, wink, wink." I said, "No, it's real." They said, "Okay." I said, "I don't care. If you don't believe me, I'm going to tell Santa Claus and ask Santa Claus to bring me a Ouija board for Christmas." And they said, "Okay." Well, sure enough, several months later, it was Christmas morning, and I received my very first Ouija board, December 25th, 1973.
Wow. And it's all come crazy since then.
It absolutely has. Little did Santa know that where this would take me on my odyssey with the other realms and bringing back that original early communication I had with Daki. It brought it full circle back to me at the age of 8, and then from there it just continued to grow.
That's amazing. Looking back now, did anyone else in your family, have you ever talked to your mom or dad? Did they have anybody in their families that had the imaginary friend or saw things out of the corners of their eyes?
Nobody in my family has had the imaginary friend that they can remember. Most people don't remember if they did have one. But what I'll tell you interesting about my family, though, my mom's side of the family, her matriarchal side, they were spiritualists. I know Elizabeth was talking about spiritualism and spiritualist, and Christian scientists to be exact, but they were also spiritualists, and they would work and engage in seances from time to time, and a lot of them had the ability to read tea leaves, and also they would see spirits, and there were stories in my family that were passed down to me from my mother that she was passed down to her. So I definitely have that lineage on my matriarchal side of one family.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's kind of cool.
Yeah, because it seems like it's something that higher vibration or that gift that allows us to communicate with the other side is hereditary. Yes. It comes down.
I think it can be. And I think in this case, I feel very connected. It's really interesting. Even as a young child, before I understood all this, I've always felt connected to those stories my mom told me about. She wasn't telling me necessarily the scary, spooky stories, or the spiritualist seance stories. She was just telling me about the family. And these women were all like, they made their own hats or dresses. A lot of people in the old days did, and those times especially. But they were avant-garde. Like some of them didn't get married, or they did things. If you didn't get married back in those days, you were kind of considered an old maid or something. That was way beyond them. They really did their own thing. One even went and became a college teacher. I mean, it went to college and became a teacher. That was unheard of back in the late 1800s. So I really felt aligned with them because of their entrepreneurial spirit, and that attracted me so much, not really understanding why until I got older. And I think it was just that energy, like you said, maybe it skips a generation or it's in your family, in the blood. And I really felt close to them. And to this day, I feel very close to a lot of that side of the family, which I didn't know a lot of because most of them were already dead by the time, I was born.
Do you ever communicate with that side?
I have spoken to one of my aunts. Her name is Ann Hazel. In fact, her picture's on my altar at my house. And she came through, one of the first times I was aware of it, not on the board, but through a psychic session I went to. And this woman knew nothing about me, but brought her through, knew so much about this woman. But yeah, she's come through on the board too. I've spoken to some other people in my family as well that have come through on the board and also in dreams. So that's a real wonderful way to be in touch with your deceased family, by the way, through dreams.
Yeah, because I'm pretty sure they know that if you wake up and they're standing at the foot of your bed, right, there's going to be laundry issues.
Right.
So they're going to come in a little more less interfering and less midnight movie madness kind of way in your life. And plus, dreams are such a soft way. And I tell people, I actually did a reading for a young woman today, and I got some information even after the reading about a grandmother who has been with her for a long time. And I said, pay attention, your grandmother's not going to show up at the foot of your bed. She's going to show up in a dream, and she won't say anything. She'll be quiet. Oh. She'll touch you on the shoulder, and I said, that's the side you're going to know that she's on all the time. So, like, if you get a bit of a tingle on that side, that's your grandmother just kind of giving you a poke to pay attention. So, and pay attention to what she's holding in her hand or what she's leaning against. I'm hoping my grandmother comes back leaning against a Aston Martin DB9
and says, "Here's the keys."
Yeah, here's the keys. But my grandmother would probably just come back and just shaking her head. So I'm waiting for that to happen. But
my grandmother came back to me. One of them did on my father's side of the family after she died. It had been, I felt her presence for a while and then felt calm and about her death because I was there a few days before she died. And I'll tell you the story real quickly because this is how, it works different ways for many different people. But I was really amazed at the time. It was really hard to be in that space. But I'm amazed when I look back on it now how interesting it is when somebody's ready to pass over. And this is what happened with our experience. I was in my, my 20s, early 20s. I was in graduate school, so I was in my early 20s. And she was in a hospital now at this point because she was really incoherent and was in pain. It was, we knew she was going to die. I would go and visit her and just sit with her, and she'd be in and out of consciousness. All of a sudden, she sits up in her bed, comes out of this coma-like state. It wasn't really a coma, but she was really out. Sits up and looks at me, eyes wide open, and says, "Karen, tell me, how do I do it? How do I die?" And I went, holy moly, she's asking me. Oh, my goodness. I got real calm. It's weird how this happens. I got calm, collected, and I said, "Grandma, they're coming for you. Just be aware when they come and you see them and follow them. Let them take you to the light." Now, I don't know. This is some of the stuff I got from the Ouija board, some of the stuff I got from meditations and other studies I was doing. Sure enough, she lays back down. I sit there longer, and I'm crying at this point because it was very emotional. If anybody's been in that space, it's just really hard, as a human, you're connected. So she sits back up and says, "They're here." She says, "They're coming. They're showing me apples. They're under the bed." And they're talking about, they want me to go help them take these fruits and can them. She was a big time canner and did all that stuff. I said, "Grandma, go with them. It's okay." She goes back to sleep, and I immediately called my parents and I say, "She's going to pass here any day. It's going to happen." Sure enough, it was like a couple days later, she did pass. Now, I felt okay with that because I felt like she was just trying to go, and it was a beautiful experience. She was talking about them coming to her, and she felt good about it. It was probably about 4 or 5 years later. I was now living in Texas, but then I was living in New Mexico. She came to me in a dream, and she came to me as a 35-year-old woman, beautiful. She wore these really cool cat eye glasses. That was from the era. And she had this flowing purple gown. She was larger than life, like Doris Day or something. There were flowing purple gowns and her bright red hair. And she's like, "Karen, this is great here. I'm learning all kinds of new things. I'm learning about radionics." And I went, "Radionics? Let me know what that is." And she goes, "I'm learning how to talk to the animals, and you can do it too." She says, "I just want you to know I'm okay." And I was like, wow. Those dreams when they feel so lucid and livid and alive, that that's something real. You feel it in your bones. You feel it in your essence that this was a real experience. And I knew she came to me. Well, after she came to me, I went and did research. Back then we didn't have the internet. No internet this time. I did research at the Dewey Decimal at the library, and I learned about radionics. And there really is a principle called radionics, and I know a lot more about it now. But she was on the other side learning about this. And by the way, she did not believe in an afterlife. She did not believe in any of these kinds of things that we talk about on this type of show. She was very close to all that. But the fact that, we go on into the other side and start evolving is just, it's a beautiful thought and a beautiful thing to know. But the dream was, like James said earlier, it's such an easy way for them to come through because we're so open and uninhibited by our lives that hold us or our belief system. We're so open. We're back to the essence of really who we are, and we're able to allow them to come in. So that's a wonderful way to experience them and what they may have to tell you.
Well, that is a wonderful way to experience it. I was there a day before both of my parents passed, and my mother was suffering from cancer, and she was in this daze of morphine. And as I was sitting there, and I was thinking to myself, okay, this is the last time I'm coming to visit because she doesn't know I'm here, and I don't want to remember my mom like this. I remember her in her or all of my life being a certain type of person. This person wasn't her. And she came, all of a sudden she snapped out, like completely sober, no more morphine. She looked at me and she said, "Did I do okay?"
Oh, wow.
And I said, "Yeah, you did fine." And she smiled and laid back down and then went back into this morphine haze. And she was gone within 24 hours. Mm-hmm. And that was in 1999. 2011, my dad's in the hospital. He's supposed to be home. He's only supposed to be in there for about a week, 4 days to a week. And then he's going to come home. And we're talking. And he kind of dozed off. And I was just looking around at the cards and stuff. And he kind of woke up and said, "How did I do?"
Whoa.
And he stared at me. And I said, "You did fine." And he just looked kind of at the end of the bed. And then he fell back asleep again. I didn't connect the two until he passed the next day. And I went, "Oh my gosh," it totally came out. It was like a checklist. Okay, Jim said I did okay, and then kind of going through until everybody came in, and I don't know if he asked the same question to everybody, but once he got that check mark checked, okay, I can go now. That was weird.
Absolutely amazing. I'm glad you made that connection. As I was hearing the story, if I didn't hear that, I was going to ask you what you think of that now, but I'm so happy that you know that. And it's interesting, when they do pass, and I talk to the deceased all the time, you know, they want to know they did okay. They do want to know that it's okay to go. And many of them hang on until they get a chance, as many of you out there know, until they get a chance to say goodbye or have that final statement. I think that's beautiful. That's beautiful you had that opportunity to be with them. As I felt that was beautiful. And the time it's painful, but I look back now and it was beautiful to be with her as she was in and out of that stupor, and the ability to be with her to help her pass. And that's what you did. You helped her and him both pass.
Well, it's sad for us because we're losing. Right. What I think back on, one of the biggest thing that I'm sad about is they leave before I have all these questions answered. But if you think about it, if someone was to say, "Okay, your mom or your dad, they're passing at noon tomorrow. Write a list of questions." You'll come up with 2. Like, you won't know what to ask. And as soon as they pass, it's like, "Oh, where were the keys to the garage?" Or, "What did you do with this?" Or, "What was it like in 1944 in this location?" Stuff that they just took for granted all their life, that they had information on that you'll never get now. And what I was like as a child, what was I like at this age? Because usually you don't ask stuff about yourself. You'll ask stuff about other people, but you know, there's information I would like to know about me. Actually, now I'd like to know more about my mother's connection with the other side. And what she saw when she was younger.
You know, seize the moment and take the time to ask these questions now. I ask a lot of questions, but I feel like I have the advantage though too, to still keep the communications going. Now, it's not with everybody. Not everybody is willing or able to or wants to or needs to come back and communicate. But I just having my finger, at least the pulse on some other dimensions, that I feel like there's a great advantage I have. Although we all can do this, it just takes maybe practice and time to do it. But yeah, I think you bring up a really important point, James, is that, you know, if you have some questions now to ask them while you still have these people alive, as crazy or silly it might seem, it just might be worth, you know, reaching out and asking these questions, because you may become very surprised at what you learn about yourself, or learn about yourself within the process of asking the question, and why it might have been hard to ask it, or why you didn't want to ask it, or why it's easy to. But yeah, there's so much to uncover, always, dead and alive. Yeah,
at least with knowing somebody like you, I could say, "Karen, hey, could you ask my dad where he put the garage keys?" That kind of thing. And it's and with Joanna, we have on as a medium every second Sunday.
Oh, yeah.
My dad constantly comes through. Anytime that I'm talking to Joanna, my dad is there with her.
Oh, that's neat. Very neat.
He sits there smoking a pipe, and he doesn't, he kind of nods, and he'll give a couple of little one-word answers, but he shows more. He'll show a picture of something as opposed to have a back-and-forth conversation. But a lot of the time, and dealing with and talking to a lot of spirit mediums and psychic investigators, like full-on helping police and things like that, when you ask them about, well, what kind of things do you see, or the communication you're having with the other side, you'll get back, well, you don't really need to know that, or that's not really your path. Mm-hmm. So there are things that they will communicate with you, And other things are, well, don't worry about that. Just let that go. Don't worry about it. So it might be just me and focusing too much on one little thing, but I get don't worry about it. That's not your path. That's not your baggage, really. Do you ever get that when you're communicating?
Absolutely, yes. And I was going to say that's common. It's very common because sometimes you don't want to. It's like spoiler alert. Spoiler alert. You don't need to know everything, and knowing everything could change in terms of if you might take that risk or try this or call that person or go this direction. And really, life is always about evolving. And every time we make a step or a move, every single moment, we're working on ourselves, whether we know it or not. We're being guided by our higher self, a higher principle within ourselves, and it always knows where we need to go. And often it's better. They think on the other side they have sometimes a greater picture, and they can see more of the fullness of who you really are, not just you and the body, but this expansiveness of yourself that connects back to the divine source. They see all that, and they can't always. And they don't always want to tell you or give you that information. So no, that's very common. And in fact, they'll mostly just give you information that might help you with what you've been working on or thinking about, or if you need a message, just of love or something. I find that's typically what you'll get instead. So no, that's very common. That's very common. I think it's smart for them to do that, to let us really live out our lives, because that's important that we do this.
Oh yeah. I think if they give you too many answers, then what's the point?
Yeah,
I think Marianne Morgan told me once, it's when you get really good at manifestation to the point where you can just put out to spirit that you want something and you get it, there's no really need for you to be on Earth anymore. Like, you're done. So don't get good at this stuff.
Yeah, keep practicing. Right. The other piece about manifestation is interesting. It's good you don't get it right away. Because you manifest no matter if you're thinking positively or negatively. Your thoughts are always attracting new things to us or to yourself. And so it's good that there's like a amount of time and space in between that you're not too good. So in case you're thinking some negative thoughts unconsciously even or subconsciously, that you'll be drawing those to. And it's good that you've got time to figure it out so you may, or catch yourself so you don't draw that negative thing to you. So I think it's good to have that little space, that little padding in between when something really materializes into your life or manifests.
Now, here's the conundrum that I ran into last time you and I were talking. And if somebody could go back into the podcast universe and pull up this interview with myself and Karen, she was talking about it's like, who's she? You were talking about the intent. Mm-hmm. As long as the intent is good when using a talking board or Ouija board, as long as your intent is positive and full of goodness, and then what you get, you're not going to get a negative entity coming in. And I was while you were describing this in my mind, I was thinking, okay, it's like Reiki. Yeah, you don't have to get the little hand motions exact. As long as your intent is pure, then the energy will come through you. So I thought to myself, oh, you know what? I'm not afraid of the Ouija board anymore. Maybe I'll give it a try. And that's when my dad grabbed me in the collar and pulled me back.
Ooh.
And in other words, oh, no, you won't. And I've done a lot of talking or thinking about this and talking to spirit medium friends of mine. And they said that yes, you can go in thinking the intent is good, but in my case, I was being told that going into it would have been thinking that I had the intent and the protection, when really I wouldn't have been that well protected because I was so far at the beginning of asking for protection and focusing. And they said there are people that can focus on a talking board and only deal with love and light and those beings that come with good intent. And there are very few of you out there, rumor has it.
Well, let's back up with the intent thing. The intent thing is a superficial way to talk about how you work a board. Yet it's a very practical and elementary way to begin. So we have to have our intent. because we are such complex people, there's so many moving parts within ourselves going on, which relate to our beliefs, our thoughts, our the way we were raised, what things we've been taught, the things we harbor within. We have to check that. One of the things I always talk about is checking yourself before you sit down at the board. It's not just your intent. It's looking at your whole constituents, all your constituents within yourself, everything that comprises who you are, and looking at that. I find that a lot of people that talk about, protection with the board, and I've got to make sure I do this and do this ritual, those are the ones that I worry to say, for them, they feel like there's something negative already coming. So underlying their wonderful intents, there's still this fear factor. Fear is not a bad thing. It can be your friend in terms of fight or flight. If you're in a bad situation and you need to get out of it, you're going to be aware. Fear helps you be aware. Fear is not a good thing when it holds you back from moving forward in life or from your own evolution. And so when you're doing this type of work, if you, on one hand you want to do it because you got great intent, but the other hand you're fearful and you want to, I need all kinds of protection. I got to wear my rosary and I got to light 10 candles and I've got to say a prayer and then I've got, I'm like, that's cool if that works for you. But I ask you, where does that all come from? See, this is going to sound weird to your listeners. I don't feel like I need protection. There's nothing to protect me but myself. There's nothing for me to be afraid of. Number one, I feel very empowered within myself, and I'm very empowered because of all the work I do on myself away from the board. I don't do work because of the board. I do work for myself, so I know my connection back to my higher self, to source wisdom, and to communicate that out into the world. So I don't have this fear around me. Now, I haven't always been that way. Younger, I had been. So I like to teach people, when they use the board, to really look at their own psychical makeup, their own physical, emotional makeup, everything that comes with them to the board when they sit down. And if they can start sorting that out first and understanding where they're coming from, then they're going to have a better chance for their intent to work when they state, this is who I want to talk to. This is what I'm here to do. I want to experience positive stuff from the board. It's like you've got to look at everything underneath those layers. So the intent is the tip of the iceberg, where who you are within is everything beneath the surface. And that's what we have to really look at. And so I want to agree with what people have told you. And I also want to say that, you have to do this tool, to use it in a way that you feel great about it, and you feel like you're getting just nothing but uplifting communications and unconditionally loving communications from spirit guides, spirit, source wisdom, angels, deceased loved ones. It's really looking at yourself and coming to a place where you feel like you are centered within yourself first. And so again, I say, work on thyself first. Like heal thyself, physician. It's work on thyself first, and then come to the tool and to this board and use this tool. Because these tools, there's many tools out there you can use. It's just a tool. It's just an intermediary. It's not what does the work for me. The board doesn't make this work. I make it work. And if I rely too much on a board, a cardboard box, piece of paper, glass, whatever it's made out of, masonite, I'm putting my power into that object instead of keeping my power within me and just using a tool. It's just like tarot cards. It's just like a pendulum. It's just like throwing the I Ching or using runes. It's the same principles. It's not, those things help you do your work, but it's not what does the work. It's you. So I really ask people to empower themselves with their own spiritual work, connectiveness back to the divinity within themselves that connects them back to all that is, the one. And then from there, you can start working with these tools and have great experiences. Does that help a little bit, James, when we talk about
definitely.
it that way?
It does. It's like you say, it's like building your own little, you have an internal castle. And
yes.
But
yes.
you've got to build it up over time. And that's your energy, everything, your knowledge is inside of that. Once you get that functioning and you're secure, go for it. When I do, let's see, when I do an oracle card, I could use a normal deck of cards. Mm-hmm. I could use hockey cards. I don't know. I could use anything because each time I lift one, I hear something. It's hard to explain. I get a message, and then I just repeat it. And the confidence, it's getting the confidence to repeat what I'm feeling, hearing, or it's hard to explain, to say it out loud and not feel stupid saying it. And that's the trick that I'm still fighting. And people are looking at me like, wow, that means so much. And I'm thinking, what the hell did I say? I don't know. But it's but it is a little bit different. Now, with a Ouija board, you're actually, something is being spelled out to you with or a yes or a no. And honestly, that to me, because I'm so weird, that would just take me too long. And plus my spelling sucks. So, but then again, it's not me spelling. So it is a different communication device. What are the other ways you have used to communicate with spirit?
Oh my gosh, so many ways over the years. And I also have cards, many, many decks. I explored cards for years. I used to use the ruins, and also the I Ching was one of my favorites. I've used meditation. I do dream recall. Dream is probably up there at the top along with the Ouija board and meditation. Those two have been very important for me. Automatic writing in journals. I use that as well. Where I'm at now to this day, I use the board still, but one of the things I've been really perfecting is my ability to channel through my voice. So I'm doing live voice channeling now, and I'm working on channeling all kinds of consciousness. But I hear what you're saying, James. I think you bring up a good point. The whole idea of, you said building up your confidence in your tool or in yourself to be able to read your tool and what comes forth. And I totally get that. For some reason with the board, and I would say it's probably because I've been using it over 42 years now. It'll be my 43rd year starting in 2017. So I'm wrapping up my 42nd year on the board. And I find that I have such confidence in that tool, my ability to work that tool, that it's like there's no doubt in my mind of what's coming through, and I'm not even questioning it. But when I use some of these other techniques, such as meditation, automatic writing, dreams, I don't question either. Sometimes it's understanding the dream I might question, but tarot cards I don't question as much either. But even voice channeling, when you take it that level where the spirits are coming directly through and using your voice, my thing has been, this is something I'm learning, is what is my thoughts, what's the external thoughts, and how do I distinguish them? So what I've found, that you said confidence, I'm learning that the word I would use is discernment, and really learning to discern and not doubt myself, but discern how the energies come through. And when I channel, for example, the ethereal beings who are of source wisdom, when they come through my mouth, it's a different feeling than I have if I channel, for example, an animal, or if I channel consciousness of an ET, or if I channel a deceased person, or if I channel the snake. It all comes through. There's different feelings where they feel them, and I find when people work with these different modalities and tools, and even just themselves as a walking Ouija board, as a tool, that they begin to feel. It's all through feeling centers. If you begin to feel how it feels within your body, you begin to be able to discern who it is, what type of being that's coming through. And so I'm learning, that's what I'm working with a lot, is feeling the different channels within myself, opening up different centers, and where the different centers affect me, and I can feel their emotion or their intent or their words, then I know what it is that I'm channeling, what's coming through me.
Let's go back to when you say opening up different centers. What do you mean by that?
Well, one of the main centers that I've learned through my work and doing all this work all these years is the heart center. And so one of those centers I work with the most is the heart, because the heart to me is the seat of our soul. It's that place where we connect ourselves with all else in the universe. There's one giant heart we're all a part of. We're all one beating heart in a sense. I know it sounds very poetic and beautiful, but it's beyond that. The heart really has been where I go into that space and I can feel it. You feel in your heart. Also, the centers you may open up in your body are through the chakras. I mean, we've been given these wonderful energetic centers that spin, that open, and can close. And as we work with different ones, we can bring in different energies. Often when people channel, you might feel stuff coming through your crown chakra or your third eye or your throat. It really comes through all these different centers. And so I spend time working with each center, opening them, closing them, as well as grounding them, as well as just learning to sense them and feel them. And you can begin to feel the different chakras in your body. That's a system of, again, the wheels, chakras like a wheel, and it's these are literal energetic fields within us. So that's what I'm talking about when I say sinners.
Oh, I gotcha. Well, you have a question coming in from one of the chat rooms.
Excellent. Okay.
Says, have you ever been lied to from a spirit?
I have not, but many people have, and I'll tell you. Okay, so let me back up. I've gotten misinformation before, so would that be a lie? Possibly. When I first started, there was nobody out there doing this. There was no books. There was no internet. I was just moving along doing it with just my own thoughts of how to do this. I had no idea. I had a very good feeling with the other realms because of my experiences of a young child, and I had a great experience with Daki, just a wonderful friend. So I had no fears about that, about working with the other energies. So I think because I had that already coming to the board, that helped me feel strong in it. Yet, I will say, as I began work with different people in different energies I work with, different people bring different energies. So you get different kinds of messages. And not to blame anybody, not to blame us. It's the connection we create together. It's both our mindsets, our heart sets, where we are with this tool and how our energies come together will create the kind of connection you'll make. Think of it this way. When you sit down at a board or any kind of tool like this, you are actually tuning a frequency. So you tune yourself. You set your frequency by tuning yourself, meaning what we talked about earlier, your intent, what you bring to the table, what's inside of you, how you feel about life, how you feel about this board, what happened in life today. Are you angry? Are you happy? You're neutral, etc. That's how you bring your frequency to this tool. Then you work with your intention to tune it like a dial on a radio or TV channel, and you move into a certain frequency, and that allows their frequencies to tap into you. So I have spoken to spirits of lower astral levels, and those spirits will typically be tricksters, be mischievous, say silly things, and you don't know what's true. So, also another thing, when I was young, and even through, I would say, it was in 1986 when I finally got a grip on how to work this tool. So it was about 13 years I used it without really fully understanding the ramifications as well as some of the other techniques I use while I work this tool now. So I would get information like things that just didn't make sense, that were silly, past life stuff. Who knows if it's real, right? You can't really check it out sometimes. So I never really trusted it. I took it more as, this is interesting, this is intriguing. I don't know if this is real or not, but it's fascinating. And I felt like anytime anything came through that was, I had one time I was working the board with a brother of mine who was really good at using this tool. Now, he was good because he could let go and just let the energy come through and didn't get in the way of it. And this energy came through and said some cuss words at us. And it was like strange because I had not had that before. And I looked at my brother, he goes, what's that? I go, I don't know. I said, but you know what? I'm not going to put up with it. I don't like people to talk to me this way in life, and I won't allow it on the board. So in that sense, I had some negative stuff, and I just told him to go away. But yeah, you will, in the very beginning, I find that most people that work with this tool, in the very beginning, they will go through what I call the dead zone. I call it that because it's like the lower astral level where there might be stuck spirits who are just they don't want to move on for whatever reason. They could be, stuck to their last life. They could be stuck to an emotion, stuck to a place, stuck to a person, and they don't move on. And those are the ones that are not evolving, not seeing a greater picture, not allowing themselves to go right into their light being, and kind of, maybe afraid of it. I've met some of those. Those are the ones that you could get some lying or mistruths from. So I would say, yeah, I've had some mistruths, but I've never taken anything like, oh, this is fact. Not until I got so many more years down the road when I've been working now with a set of light beings for 24 years who tell me nothing but things that I can corroborate or give messages to people, and it's been nothing but positive, powerful information. James, I wrote an article about trusting the accuracy from the board, these messages we receive, and people can read it on my website. It's under articles. I highly recommend it because I tell most people not to trust the accuracy really until they've been using this tool for a very, very long time, because you have to make sure you've gotten out of the whole dead, mischievous zone where you will get some weird stuff and silly messages and possibly mistruths.
Well, if you are going to pull in, well, the lower energy spirits, those are the ones that I bump into primarily those are the only ones you'd bump into if you're doing a paranormal investigation. You don't bump into grandmother who is crossed over and has come back to play coochie-coo with the grandkid, because they come back in a higher higher sense. And yes, they do exist, and they will be inside, the kid's room, but they take a step back when we walk in the door.
That's right.
Literally leave and just stand by and watch. And we'll have the low energy ones hanging around, and they'll be swearing at you and telling you to, in no uncertain terms, they don't want you in the building. And, we can hear those ones. And those are the ones we'll get pictures of, other than the residual energy, but that's not an energy being per se anyway. It's fascinating, and I could see the lower ones gravitating to something as easy as a Ouija board where they can communicate. Mm-hmm. Where the lower energy ones won't. And this is my gut, I do not think they would come through on a tarot or a oracle card. And the reason being is, I think, is my preparation before that, where I only ask those of higher. Well, basically, I'm plugging into my spirit guide, my guy Matthew, to assure that only the information I get is pure and right and timely for the person I'm reading for. And if a bunch of other things I ask for too, and to connect. So I think I build a bit of a wall that keeps that low knuckle dragging energy away.
And that's what we do too on the board as well. And I would say also, when you're coming from your heart, because you really want to give a reading and help somebody, is that not correct?
Oh yeah, that's the whole idea. Yeah,
exactly. So when you come from your heart, you're already that much more, if you want to use the word protected, you're that much more confident. You're that much more, you're used to opening that center up and being within it. I don't do any of my readings, any of my work, anything without getting in the heart first. So I get in the heart first, and I have techniques that I use, and I've perfected over the years for myself that work for me. And that's what I do. And that's how I set up my vibration. I don't worry about protection. I worry about setting up the proper vibration for the spirit beings I want to reach. And so these lower astral have not been coming in for years for me. I don't invite them in. There's no reason I can't get anything out of them. I don't want to get anything out of them. I just like to work with lower life forms, which doesn't mean negative energies. I work with the animals. I communicate with the trees. I communicate with a lot of different life forms out there because they're just of a vibration, and I just tune into them. But yeah, you set your vibration, James, as you do with your readings, with your cards, and yourself first, and then you go about your reading. And that's what I do too. I come from a very centered place. It's full of love. I only come from a place when I'm in that love space and I know what it feels like, and then I can bring out the best messages for them. And again, it's not the board, it's myself allowing that bridge for them to connect and give us the messages, just like you.
Yeah, that's about the only way I could ever think of doing it, because I'd hate not to be right, because it just would feel so bad for the other person. Now, your website, that's creativevisions.publications.com?
And also KarenADahlman.com. They both link to the same place.
It's much easier to find. Karen A. Dahlman, Dahlman, KarenADahlman.com. You're not the Dr. Dahlman from New York.
That's so why I go by Karen.
That's why the A's in it, yeah. Well, it's not bad. You'd be great for writing bad checks. No,
right?
Hey, hold on. What's going on here? I noticed, I'm just checking the time here. We've got a few more minutes before our top of the hour break, and something to run by you. When you are communicating with the other side, is it common for somebody, a client, to say, "Okay, Karen, I want to talk to John Smith, nobody else other than John Smith"? Is that an easy communication for you? Or is there a lineup?
I don't judge. I let go, and I say, let's see what happens. And that John Smith doesn't always come through. But what might come through instead, maybe somebody else, maybe their animal or pet. It could be the spirit guides, their own spirit guides, their angel. That something always comes through. I have never had a session where nothing comes through, because I just there's such a I have a connection with them. I can do it in my dreams and everything. It's just such a strong connection right now. So something of a positive nature, I should say, will always come through anytime. It may not be always who they want. Sometimes it is, but it's always some kind of way my guides work. They come back always with a way to help the person, the client, find a lot of the answers within themselves, but take them through like a journey, maybe of questioning. A lot of times the spirit guides will ask us questions to help us dig deeper within ourselves. And so they don't just give out answers. They're actually helping you learn to reach into these realms, learn to reach into yourself, learn to make that contact. It's actually like a lesson plan is what they give us, even during my private sessions. But people definitely get messages on some great level. It may not always be John Smith.
Okay. Do you... when you're doing a reading and you say that of course it may not be John Smith, but you get a number of positive beings come through, positive information. I've never had I had a cat come through on one reading and a dog come through on another reading on cards.
Yeah. Up
until this moment, I never realized that would be animal communication.
It absolutely is. And see, I learned, this is how I learned animal communication. We got just a few seconds here. We can go into it later. It was through the Ouija board when one of my cats came in 1994 is when it started for me. And I've been doing it ever since, off the board as well. So we could talk about that later if you'd like. But yes, that's animal communication at its finest.
Yeah, and it on all the readings, it was the second card in the reading.
Oh my gosh.
And one was a cat that had passed, talking about why the present cat isn't feeling well. And then another one was a dog that was an old dog talking about the present dog the guy owned. And they were moving houses. They were kind of between houses. And the family would get a lot of furniture and go to the other house and leave the dog at home. And the dog was freaking out. Like, are they going to completely empty the house out and leave me here?
Oh,
and was stressing out. So that was what was coming through. And I'm looking at this guy going, this is really weird, but, I've had a cat come through, which threw me right off. It's completely threw me. And I'm looking at this lady, and now she's staring back at me like we're both deer in the headlights looking at each other. It's like, don't punish the messenger on this one, but I think I've lost it. You've got a cat. But I never thought that's animal communication. And when we come back, I want to talk to you a lot more about animal communication and that darn little rattlesnake.
Oh, yes.
That slithers and slides and rattles. I don't think it would have been that bad for me to look at that video on your Facebook, Karen, if it was the brown kind of diamondbacky rattlesnake. But a black and white striped one, I'm looking at it going, okay, that one I wouldn't have been that worried about until I heard it rattling.
It's indigenous to Southern California, so yeah, it's a rattlesnake out here for us. It sure is.
Lovely.
He's beautiful. I think
never going to Disneyland again.
Yes, we could talk about what the snake told me too, because I spoke to the snake.
See, and that's kind of, well, I was going to say creepy, but that's interesting. That's very interesting. We're going to come back with more from Karen right after the break. Stay tuned, please. Bathroom time, everyone. Let's go.
Hi there, this is Dave Scott, and I would like to invite you to listen Monday through Friday right here on Spaced Out Radio. 3 hours a night of the top stories with the top guests, ranging topics from UFOs to ETs, ghosts to Sasquatch, and everything in between. We are live every night, 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern. So come on in and take a listen at spacedoutradio.com. Spaced Out Radio will take you out of this world.
Hi there, this is your psychic medium Joanna, and I would love it if you would join us every other Sunday on Spaced Out Weekend. With host James Tyson, we'll bring you personal psychic messages on 2 mediums and a large. Questions about love, life, career changes. We would love it if you would come and join us live. Call in and listen in for the experience. Allow us to open the doors to your other side. 2 mediums and a large, heard only on Spaced Out Weekend at spacedoutradio.com.
Looking for news beyond the mainstream news? Head to spacedoutradio.com and check out the SOR Spacewire. This is Spaced Out Radio's Eric Markham, News Director for the SOR Spacewire. Daily, I will bring you intriguing stories and outlandish reports from what's going on around the world. UFO sightings, paranormal activity, conspiracies, alternative health, and so much more. And if you have news, email me at news@spacedoutradio.com.
Attention Spaced Out Radio listeners. For only $5 a month, you can join Spaced Out Radio Space Travelers. Your membership at spacedoutradio.com will give you access to private fan area on the website, get you a monthly newsletter, draws for monthly swag, and a whole lot more. Sign up today to become a part of the Spaced Out Radio experience.
Strange creatures lurking in the night, the sounds of wood knocking in the forest, odd happenings right out of a fictional world. These are the reports I love. Hi there, this is author Ronald Murphy, and I would love it if you join me and Spaced Out Radio host Dave Scott the second Wednesday of every month on our journey into the unknown land of cryptozoology at spacedoutradio.com. From Mothman to Frogman and everything in between. Hey, they don't call me the crypto guru for nothing.
Greetings and salutations, space travelers, from the Chronicles of the Unknown team.
What is Chronicles of the Unknown? I keep hearing about this thing.
It's a new paranormal reality TV show based right here in beautiful British Columbia, Canada. Follow our team as we uncover claims of activity on the Caribou Gold Rush Trail. You can also follow us here every third Monday, where 2 members of our team will be available to answer your questions. We'll give you some equipment updates and some of our experiences on the road, right here on Spaced Out Radio.
For over 40 years, the Purple Energy Plates have been delivering amazing results for their many customers. Inspired by the great genius Nikola Tesla, the harmony, healing, and energetic effects of the plates have proven over and over to be beneficial and often miraculous to thousands of customers. With their money-back guarantee and the many benefits, how can you afford not to get one? Check their site for daily specials and choose from their many energy products. You won't be sorry. Visit them today at purpleplates.com for mind, body, and spirit, and expect a miracle.
Patrolling the Pacific Northwest, we are always on the lookout for the strange and unassuming stories that real people are experiencing. Hi, I'm Vincent Zunza from Pacific North Weird. Me and Alexandra Sullivan have teamed to bring to you those odd stories that never seem to make it into the mainstream. Stories so weird that will leave you scratching your head wondering, is this real? It's as real as it gets with Pacific North Weird. You can watch our videos right here at spacedoutradio.com.
Find yourself constantly looking up in the sky, looking for answers? Have you had extraterrestrial contact? Are you an abductee? Looking for answers to your experiences? Hi there, I'm R. Keith Andrews, Spaced Out Radio's resident ET expert. Join me live the first Friday of every month, where I take questions from the Spaced Out Radio chat room and help you understand those from the far-off world. It's 2 hours of knowledge every experiencer should listen to. Hope to see you there.
Hey everybody, this is Patrick Webster Small, and I'm here to bring you the Webster Phenomena every Saturday night, live at 8 p.m. Pacific, 11 p.m. Eastern. If you're looking for aliens and extraterrestrials, well, we've got them. Big and tall, short and small. You're bound to find what you're looking for. So join me on the Webster Phenomena right here on Spaced Out Radio.
Hi there, this is Jolene with Rivulet Reiki and Readings, and I want you to relax. Let me help you chill out and get in touch with your body, mind, and soul. In this busy world, sometimes we need to let go, and this is where I can help. Visit my website, rivuletrndr.wix.com/rivuletrndr, or my Facebook page, Rivulet R&R, to set up an appointment for relaxation, Reiki, or readings, no matter where you are. It's time for you to make time for you.
You hear footsteps in the empty room above you. A rocking chair begins rocking by itself. Don't be afraid of the things that go bump in the night. Reach for Spirit Storybox, the iPhone app the Huffington Post UK called the only ghost hunting app you will ever need. Spirit Story Box. The spirits are telling their stories. Are you listening?
Every month on Spaced Out Radio, we look into the deep and dark reports of cryptids roaming around the world with me, Rob Morphy, from Cryptopia.us. I would love it if you would join me and host Dave Scott as we delve into the most arcane stories and reports regarding creatures of the unknown. My job is to hunt down the details and bring the evidence forward to you. These aren't your regular Bigfoot stories I'm talking about either. You can find out more about crypto history at spacedoutradio.com.
Tonight's edition of Spaced Out Weekend is brought to you by spacedoutradio.com, where you can now sign up to become a Space Traveler member. Now, for the final time tonight, here's Spaced Out Weekend's James Tyson.
Welcome back, everybody, to Spaced Out Weekend and our guest, Karen A. Dahlman. Go look up our website, KarenA.Dahlman.com. And just to remember, for you people out there who aren't members of the SOR Space Travelers group, you can get your membership at www.spaceoutradio.com. And if you are a member and you can find yourself in the new year, around March, April, in Kentucky, our good friend who runs Ghost Hunters of Virginia, Galen Chauncey, they are heading to the Waverly Hills Sanatorium, and she has invited 2 of our listeners along with them. Yes, you'll have to pay the $75 to go in there, but you will be going in with the Ghost Hunters of Virginia. They have the proper gear. They've been there. You're not going to be in a bunch of tourists walking around being idiots. You're going to be with a real long-time paranormal group, and they've been in there a couple of times. They know where to go and who to talk to, and they come out with the most incredible evidence. So if you are interested, you're down in that side of the world, and you can get down there around March, April, and we will be announcing the dates as it gets closer. Put your name in. If you're a member of the SOR Space Travelers Club, put your name down that you want to be in the draw, and we'll pull a couple of names, or pull one name, and you can take a friend of yours. But you have to be serious about this, because it's the real thing. Waverly Hills Sanatorium down in Kentucky coming up in the new year. Karen, how are you?
I'm doing great. It's been fun to be on your show so far.
And you don't look any older than you did about 7 minutes ago. So
perfect.
That's good. Before the break, we were talking about animal communication and your communication with my friend who keeps the rodent population down in your backyard.
Right.
How do you communicate, or how do you plan on communicating with a specific animal or being or anything like that? How do you focus? What do you start with?
Well, when I first started, it was through the board. But I want to say, back up here, all of us have done it when we were kids, or even when we're adults. We kind of understand our animals on a different level, and you just you almost like they say that the cat trains its owner. It's like that kind of thing. You kind of know what they want. It's more than just guessing how they feel, but you think it's that. You think it's because you're guessing, or you see their body language. They're always communicating to us, is what they tell me, and it's really through images. It's really through pictures. It's really through sensations. If you can learn to tune your bodies, I was discussing earlier, the centers in your body, and beginning to discern what you're feeling, you'll begin to realize what's you and what's not you, and you'll feel the animals in a different way than you may feel your deceased grandmother. So there's a lot of things they do, but when I first learned to do it, it was through a Ouija board. I was with the partner in my home talking to my angel. Her name is Mary Angel, and this was 94, and back then I used to speak a lot to my angel. She's since then taken more of a backseat, but she was really upfront, helped me write my first book back then, and that was 96, 97, 98. So she said, Karen, you're not going to believe this, but I want to let you know. And she said, somebody wants to talk to you. And I said, okay, yeah, I'm used to talking to all kinds of beings, deceased, whatever, angels, bring them in. And all of a sudden the planchette slowed down the board, went a different direction. The energy shifted. You could feel it in your fingertips. You could feel it on the planchette, and it changed. And I went, okay, this is interesting. But when new beings come in, it often changes, but it really slowed down. Then it started spelling, and it spelled out the following message. Hermes cat, I love you. And I went, what? My cat, very much alive cat, not deceased, used to sit in a little rocking chair and loved to watch my partner and I use the Ouija board. I had 2 cats at the time, but this one was really fascinated, I think, with it, would sit there and watch. And his name was Hermes. I said, I asked Mary Angel, did Hermes just communicate with me? And she said, yes. I said, how is this possible? She says, it's always been possible. She started explaining to me how animal communication works. But she said, because he had a desire to reach out to you so you could understand this on another level, that we come through and help him interpret it to words. Because they don't speak in, the English language or whatever language or human language. They come through in pictures and images and feelings and thoughts. And so they help. They have translators, such as my angel helps translate. I have other translators since then who help with the animal kingdom, but will come through and help translate what it is they want to communicate and give it to me in words through the board. So that's how I originally did it. To this day, I still use the board to talk to all kinds of animals and sentient beings. We can get into some of those. When I say sentient beings, any kind of consciousness that can communicate back. We can talk about some of those. But I also have discovered from doing this work for so long that I can get with somebody, an animal, or somebody can send me a picture of their animal and I can do a reading. And I can give them information that I shouldn't know, like you were talking about your card readings. So now I become the walking Ouija board and allow the messages to come through me. So it's something that's progressed for me, and I'm still working with it and fine tuning that as I begin to do more of that kind of direct animal communication. The board works fabulously. Although I've had animals come to me, especially pets, come to me in dreams and talk to me that way. And then I sit with my animals a lot and just look in their eyes, pet them, and I get downloads of information from them. And again, I learned that it's not of just my thoughts, because it comes from a different space within me. It has a whole different internal feeling. It's such subtle energy, but the more I begin to work with these subtle energies and influences, I could begin to discern. There's that word again, discern, that it's outside of me or separate from me, and from where it's coming. So that's how I do it now.
When you were communicating with, let's go to the snake. You're communicating to this snake.
Yeah.
Did you find that communication was more originating from the snake wanting to communicate with you, as opposed to you wanting to communicate with the snake?
I purposely set out to communicate with the snake.
Okay.
So, he didn't want to communicate. It wasn't, not that he didn't want to. It was like there was no need to. In fact, often I ask my cats to come talk to me. I talk to my alive cats. I don't just talk to dead animals. I talk to very much alive animals, many, many different kinds of animals, including wild animals. I just push the boundaries of this ability to speak to animals through the board. And I'm writing a couple books right now about animal communication with some specific stories. So anyway, I talk to especially my cats, and I'll say, come talk to me. And they go, well, this is silly because we already talked to you. See, it's to them, they use telepathy. And that's how they really communicate with us. And to use a board slows down that process. That's why we have an interpreter that comes through. So I have this energy field that comes through now. And anytime I speak with the animals, this energy comes through, and it's like a consciousness of animals, and it can work with any species. And he just told us to call him Papa. It's like, what name is that? I don't know. I have some interesting names with my spirit guides. They have no names, but so I call him Papa. And so Papa comes in whenever I want to talk to an animal. So I said, Papa, I'd like to talk to that snake in my backyard. I felt like, it was a very strange feeling, James, when that snake came, because I was inside my house, saw something long slithering across, maybe 6 feet from me, but I was inside a screen door. And I was shocked because I realized I saw the end of its tail, and I went, oh, that's a rattlesnake. And something in me said, get your phone camera. You're going to go outside and take some photos. And I just did. Now, not naively, though, because I know that snakes can only strike 2/3 the size of their body. And I knew that I was far enough from it, and I did it. My camera has a great zoom in it. So it's not like I'm like right on the snake. But I was very careful of that and very respectful of his space. And I spoke to him in that way and let him know that I was here not to hurt him, and that I thought he was a beautiful life form, and that just, do your business and go on your way, and we'll be happy with each other. And I did it out loud to him when he was there. And I feel like it was a he. So after he did his little business, shook his tail, I filmed that. He drank water. I have a little like a little pond, a little waterfall feature in my backyard. Came and drank, and then he turned around and sat there coiled up, and I said, that's it, I'm done, I'm in the house. About an hour later, I come down, he's gone. So I thought, I really want to communicate with him, and I thought, I don't know how to discern a snake energy yet inside my body, so I thought, I'm going to go ahead and just use the board. So I called on Papa, and I said, I'd like to find out about that snake. What was the snake's motivation? Why was the snake there? And immediately Papa came in and said, the snake didn't speak directly to me. Papa often will, for some life forms, because they don't necessarily have the communication to do that, he will speak for them and said, the snake came to you because he often comes to your backyard watering hole. And I was like, oh my goodness. And he says he's been coming on and off for quite a few years. And it's not all the time, but when he really wants a good drink of water. Said he meant no harm to you, but know this. He was hoping you would keep at a safe, and he called him at a safe distance from him so he wouldn't have to strike. Because his instincts rule, not rationality, not reasoning as humans have. Instincts rule with wild animals, and they're going to be what a snake knows to be. And it was good that you gave your distance. He felt no fear from you. He had no fear of you either, and he meant you no harm. And so that's how the message went. And I said, well, how old is he? And they said, well, he's 9 years old, and he's been coming here on and off for that long. Now, where my home is, I live by a beach community, not too far from it, but I have this little green belt beneath me, and I have no doubt he lives in these wonderful bushes down there. It'd be a great place for a snake of that size to live in my neighborhood. So that was how the communication went with him. And I would have to say I did feel quite a bit of respect for that snake. Of course, you've got to respect your wild animals because they can strike. But I also felt a connection to him, and so I felt calm about the whole thing. And I think that's why he was able to communicate with me.
Oh, that's kind of cool then.
Very cool.
Yeah. And like you say, it comes down to instinct. You can communicate with them all they want, but instinct, that fight or flight, takes over.
That's right.
Yeah.
It's like the story you told about the family who smeared peanut butter on the kid's face for a bear to lick it. Well, you've got to be smart. I say wildlife is wildlife. They're wild for a reason. They have instincts. And it's, there's nothing wrong with them being a bear or being a snake. That's what they do. They're here on this earth to be themselves. And they can't be anything but themselves because of their instinct and their nature. And for us to just respect that, we have to respect it because they're going to behave as a wild animal does. Oh, they may be cute and furry and scaly and whatever. I love snakes, so I have no problem with the scales. It's just that we have to respect them. And I just was nothing but respectful. I never wanted to kill it. I never wanted to capture it. I never wanted to, if he stayed there, I would have called in the wildlife people and they would have brought him and relocated him. But he just went on his merry way. I've not seen him since. We've looked for him. He's gone. And I'm okay with that. But I do wear boots when I go in my backyard.
Oh, yeah. I'd be wearing hip waders.
You got to be getting smart. We have to respect these animals, the snakes. So I'm not stupid about it. I'm not going to go out barefoot. I'm wearing my boots.
Oh yeah, it's what kind of makes you think too about what's in the backyard when you're going out there. I'm going to go sit in the sun. It's a beautiful day. I'm going to read. I'm going to wear some light clothes, rubber boots or big leather ones that come up mid-thigh or something, and all your chairs are now 8 inches higher than they used to be.
Right.
Oh my gosh. It's that kind of communication I think is interesting where they are saying, look, I'm in the area and I mean you no harm as long as you stay back.
That's right. That's exactly what the message was. I just, you didn't get too close. That was great because I would have to strike. That's what I do. That's what we do. It's like, yeah, you got it. I respect you.
Yeah. Obviously it's a union snake. They're always wanting to strike. Yeah.
Good job.
What other animals, like off air, we were talking about something you had contacted, and basically the same thing Elizabeth Anglin has contacted, and it was a Bigfoot. How did that come about?
Well, this is what James and I were talking in between the show or before the show. Yeah, like I said, I've really been pushing boundaries of consciousness in which I can communicate with. The animal thing, I took it for many years quite far, and then I've been talking to wild animals for a while too. And I thought, what about talking to some of these cryptid animals or beings or whatever they are that are out there? And so I'm exploring that now too. And so one of the first ones that came to my mind that I wanted to explore a while back was Bigfoot, because I'm really enchanted with this creature. There's been too many sightings, and as Elizabeth was sharing earlier, I also saw that camera that captured the whatever that is, Bigfoot person, whatever it was, the dark figure beneath the nest of the eagles was kind of cool. And, there's so much out there, and there's too many people out there who are researching this to think that it can't be real. Or there's something happening here that we're not quite understanding. So I decided to reach out to Bigfoot, and it was not even an issue for him to come through. And I spoke to Bigfoot also on the board. And Bigfoot came through with the help of Papa and had a lot to say. And I was shocked about some of the things I heard, because I wasn't, I don't research Bigfoot. I maybe read minimal about him, but I do listen to shows. Sometimes people talk about him, and I'm always intrigued. So should I share some of the stuff that Bigfoot shared?
Yeah, of course.
Okay. So Bigfoot said that we really want to be left alone. We really try to stay to ourselves. It's because we know that you are afraid of us. And quite frankly, we really just want to have our own life. It's very different than yours. And the big thing is they understand that we judge it and we're afraid of it, and we want to either hurt them or capture them or something of that nature. They also told me, too, that they love, they live, they have families, they do everything that they see us do. They just do it in a different way. Doesn't mean they're less than. In fact, they work mostly telepathically, and they could be very far more advanced than us on those levels. We may think we're more advanced technologically, but they're more advanced definitely telepathically and in other ways. They also told me they are interdimensional and live here physically, but they can go in and out of dimensions at will. And it's part of their own internal technology that they developed over the years. So they kind of live both realms, but more live physically here and all over the world, everywhere, as I think people are talking about experiencing them, yet they choose to be more physical here, and they are of our world, they're telling me. They are of our world, yet they are able to go in and out. So people, that's why you never find a body, is what they're saying. We go in and out, and we don't want to leave the remains. We really want to keep to ourselves, and we don't agree with the kind of communities or buildings and stuff that you have. This is how we live. So that's basically what they told us. I've spoken to them a few times, but over the course of several sessions, this is some of the information I gathered from them.
And the ones you're communicating with, where did they exist? Where were they living when they were communicating with you?
Well, I didn't specifically ask for the location, because one of the really cool things about when you start working with different dimensions and realities and consciousness within those dimensions and realities, they're non-local. You don't have to be in their space to communicate with them. For example, I have done some paranormal kind of investigation work or talking to spirits because without being in a location. I could be across the earth, across like the pond. I have people in UK. I could talk to their higher selves, their animals, etc. I could talk to the Bigfoot over there. I was more focused on what is Bigfoot, who is Bigfoot. Let's talk to the Bigfoot consciousness, and that is what I was talking to. Kind of an overall consciousness representative, I should say, of the Bigfoot, what we call Bigfoot cryptid species.
Okay. It is fascinating to get communication with them, and the hardest part for me would be to understand or to come up with a question.
I know.
Like, what do you ask him? Like, because if you were a tree, what kind of tree would you be?
I have so many questions to ask, and people say, well, did you ask this, that's it? And, when you're in the middle of it, it's like, wow, I'm just like going, I'm talking, and where I am now with the communications of all these different beings, and I 100% believe what's happening here and what I'm communicating with, there's not even a doubt in my mind, and yet when I'm in it, it's like, oh my gosh, okay, what do this is almost like a nervousness in a way, or excited. I'm excited about it too. And so I may have several sessions with the same consciousness or being because I want to explore more. And I do that often with the animals, or I do this with the wild animals too. Or such as, Bigfoot. I like to spend time and come back, sit on it for a while, then get some more questions together and ask. So yeah, it's been just a fascinating journey with these different consciousness and these different beings that I've been in communication with beyond what we even, can comprehend and we think really exists. I mean, we're so used to seeing things in our realm that we go, oh, that's a bird, that's a butterfly, that's a bear. But there's so much more out there that we can't see because of our own filters, meaning we've been told or taught these things don't exist, yet they are there. It's just sometimes they're hidden in plain sight, or they're interdimensional, or they have other ways of interacting within our realm.
It's very interesting. I had an interview with a young lady named Akiana Krameric. Grew up in an atheist household, no television, no radio. And at the age of 4, she tells her mom she bumped into a guy named Jesus who took her up in the sky where it's dark and saw something called heaven. And of course, her mom is looking at her like, "You're 4 years old. What are you talking about?" Well, at the age of 8, she paints this picture of Christ, about 5 foot by 3 foot. Very famous young lady on Oprah and the whole bit.
Actually, I have seen her. I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, a number of oil paintings. Been on 100 Huntley Street, all these very Christian kind of shows. I end up interviewing her and asked her if you ever experienced anything extraterrestrial. She says, "Oh yeah, I got light beings, 7th dimensional light beings," and that she lost 10 hours of time at one point. They actually called the police and the FBI. She walks out of her bedroom, bumps into her mom and 2 policemen in the hallway, and they're looking at her like, "Where the hell have you been?" "Well, I've been in my bedroom." "No, you haven't. You've been gone for 10 hours.
Oh,
so this is like the first time she's actually come out and talked about this, but to her it was so just, "Oh yeah, this is the other things I've seen." She's actually painted pictures of the universe from a perspective that you'd have to be in the universe farther away to see the perspective she's painting.
Yeah, like in that galaxy where that star system is or something.
Yeah, you actually, she's painting it from the other side.
Yeah, right.
So that's a clue. I've been a policeman for a long time, and that's one of those things we call a clue. That you've had something from, you looked at it from another angle. Well, she was talking about that. I've interviewed a fellow out of Utah who has been followed by light beings, and through one of their psychic mediums, they've kind of confirmed it's family. Oh. And they're coming closer to him, and they're cat-like, which is a whole other issue, but it was very odd. Now, when you communicate with light beings, do you see them, or you just have communication with them?
Great question. Okay, so there's different beings I communicate with. The guardians I do see, and I saw them a lot when I was a child, and they are like angelic beings, but they're of a different order, if you want to call it that. And they're called the guardians, and these are light beings also, and they're large. They're huge. They're like 10, 12, could be even taller than that, and they're very wide, and they have no bodily facial features or anything, but yet they'd speak to me telepathically. Now, I have not seen those beings since I was young. I see all kinds of beings through my youngest age, all the way up to about 9 and 10, a little bit into up to 12, something spilled in. I've seen a lot of things that are just not of this world for sure. And those guys were part of that. Now, the current light beings I speak to are of a real high order. That they come from source wisdom. So they come from all that is, and they are expression of that. And they are not embodied beings. They've never been incarnated. They've never been in physical form. They are pure light. Yet pure light has consciousness and ability to communicate. I do not see those. I have not seen them. Yet I've had dreams where I become lucid. I know that people in the chat room were talking about lucid dreams, and those are fabulous dreams because you become aware that you're awake, but you're still asleep. And at that point, you can work with the dream and have questions asked. You can go places. You can see things. And I have lucid dreams probably 4 or 5 times a year. And I can't make them happen always. It's like I've tried. Sometimes I can. Most of the time I can't. But I had a lucid dream not too long ago, because I've really been wanting to see my guardian friends again, although I can communicate with them. I haven't seen them in a while, and I've been wanting to meet the light beings in person. And they come to me in meditations, but in a dream, I woke up in the dream. So I was lucid in the dream, but still sleeping. And I said, I've got a few minutes here. I might have 15 minutes or 20 minutes. However long this dream lasts, I'm going to go tell somebody, would take me to the light beings. They said, sure, we'll take you there. And we were walking and going, talking to the people and being directed. And I was getting there. And finally I woke up and I went, dang it. I had my opportunity to go see them. So I'm working on that again, but it hasn't happened. So yet, when I talked to them about this, that's not the point. The point is not to see them. They said, it'd be so hard to see us. We vibrate at such a different frequency that it's outside of your range of what you can even see with your physical eyes. And they said, but yet you have the ability to communicate with us because you've worked with raising your frequency, tuning into ours. We work to tune into you, and you've been, a student of this practice for some time. But to see them again, I may or may not. But I have to say, whether I see them or not, it's still the messages and what they provide me, it has been, I don't ever need to see them truly to know that they're there and they're a part of my life and a part of many people's lives for that matter.
Yeah. I'm still trying to get my head around that my spirit guide, my primary guide that I call Matthew because he laughed when I asked what his name was. You're always putting names on things.
They don't have names.
Yeah,
Truly don't. Yeah, I told you that.
I was explained to me that he was never from this earth.
Mm-hmm.
And he was described as looking like an Egyptian about 30,000 years ago, which is funny because that's as far as my DNA goes back. It goes back to Egypt 30,000 years ago. So that was kind of cool. And then I got told later that he was an ET. And I went, oh, that makes sense now that he's never been on Earth. Because we had a photograph taken, these aura cameras.
Oh, yeah.
And there was three blue beings over my right shoulder and a little kind of gold one to my left, which was told by a psychic. Oh, man, I just got total goosebumps.
Ooh.
Was a family member, and the three beings over my right were guides. And I had it on the table, and somebody walked by saying, oh, those are your spirit guides. They're ETs. What? So the tall blue ones, that was one of the ones Matthew was. So
nice.
I guess we have all sorts of... well, obviously I have an angel, because I think we all do, right?
We do. Mm-hmm.
Okay, I have no idea who the angel is, and would love to find out. And I would also like to know who's in charge guide-wise right now. Whether... I was told once that I was up for a change in guides, and it was going to be a female, and she was going to come out of the water at the winter solstice in December 21st, a couple of years ago, and I would know when she showed up. But I think she's there. She just hasn't stepped up yet. Is that
you can feel
common
her?
for you?
You feel something changing or something shifting there?
No, not yet.
Oh, okay.
But my very first and only exposure to like a third eye, when I did a third eye meditation, I got lots of little symbols and visions, and one was a very tall, masculine brunette woman who was wearing one of those three-peaked hats, like back in the 1700s.
I could see it. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and she was there, so I'm thinking maybe that's her, but I don't know. I don't know why that woman was wearing that hat, dressed up like a man from the 1700s, but who knows? That could be her. But it's one of those things. When someone comes to you and says, Karen, I'd like you to communicate with my guides, and can you explain to me what they look like? Do you actually get that vision, or do you strictly communicate the message?
Sometimes a little bit of both. If I'm using the board, it's typically a message, but I sometimes get images as well. And I'm learning more and more to speak them out loud. I used to, when I was a therapist, I would just say, this is something I'm getting for you right now, and I feel like I need to tell you. So it just came out naturally. I never thought, I'm doing some kind of reading. It just came out naturally. And once I started going, I'm doing a reading, you got like, okay, now I got to perform. And that's the whole thing, you can't perform. So yeah, I get both now. And I did hear while you were talking that your guide is present, and you're going to see her really soon. Like, you're going to know who she is. Like, I feel like she's right here saying, I'm here. Do you feel me? So she's here. But,
that just,
do you feel
my whole left side?
Yeah. Do you feel it?
Just went goosebumped, and my left side of my face.
She's saying, okay, good.
Okay.
She's saying, I'm here. Okay, I got chills through, both arms telling me, yes, that's true. She's here and she's with you. I want to talk, somebody in the room, Steve Kelly said, does everyone have a spirit guide, and how can you tell? Well, I will tell you this, what I've learned. Every single one of us has a spirit guide or guides, an angel or angels. Every single one is not alone. We all have helpers on your side. One of the main things I've learned from all the years of doing this work, on or off the board or however I do it, is that we're not alone, and they're here as loving assistants. In a way, they're kind of, they like to tell me, they told me the other day, they're my cheerleaders. They're not the football players, but they're the cheerleaders. They're here to support us and cheer us on and give us inspiration and guidance, and to be the net net that catches us when we fall, but they will not do our work for us. And how do you know when you're in touch with a spirit guide? Because that's just it. They won't do your work for you, but they will guide you and help you to do it yourself. They will help you find your true empowerment within. They will help you be the best you can be. And they will, when you're aware of them more, and invite them. Number one, the first step is inviting them in. They have to be invited because they believe in free will and they won't pass or cross that line. But if you say, welcome, my spirit guides, please show yourself however you may, be open that they probably will not show up the way you expect them to. It sounds like for James, a lot of things for him, he feels sensations, goosebumps. I do too. They may show up as a song you hear on the radio. They may show up in a book you're reading. They may show up in some word you wake up in the morning remembering from your dream. They may show up in your dreams. They may show up such as a sign or a clue. A feather falls from the sky and you're like, oh, hawk feather. Maybe hawk's my guide. They come in many ways and it's like, it's a fun journey and they'll drop you clues. And as you start being more in touch with them, the message will become clearer and clearer and clearer. And that's how you get connected to all these synchronistic events within. But yes, every single one of us has a guide. And I wanted to say something to you, James, earlier. You're talking about your alien guide. Think about it this way, everybody. We are alien to those beings that live on another planet. We're like ETs to them. Think about it. We're beyond their planet. So we're all kind of aliens out there in a sense. So everything is not foreign to each other and everything is, of another dimension or a different kind of terrestrial being. So yeah, we all are basically aliens.
Well, you are. I'm not.
I know you are, but what am I?
Yeah. You touched on the hawk, having animal guides. There are people who you could go to and say, look, I understand I have a spirit guide named Bob or whatever, and I have an angel, but I understand that I also would have like a guide animal, or it could be a bear or a wolf, or I'm always picking the big carnivore ones, but I honestly could be a shrew. Who knows? My spirit animal is a mosquito. How can we tell what our spirit animals are?
Well, now you have to buy into that system, because if you don't, you won't be open to it to receive it. So I also love to follow the Native American tradition, probably because of my background in New Mexico. I used to work on a reservation. I spent a lot of time at different feasts and pueblos and being invited into their communities. And it feels like such a sacred, connected religion, spirituality to the earth. And I love that. So I tend to follow more of those practices, and I kind of incorporated them into my own spirituality. So I'm very much into the animals. I have quite a few animal guides, and I've learned over the years what they are. I did a lot of work in nature, asking for the animals to present themselves, or as we talked about, maybe a feather along your path. Hawk is one of mine. Hawk is one for many people. I have buffalo, that's one. I have coyote, so I have some of the big animals too, carnivore and omnivores or vegetarians. I also have dolphin. A lot of people have dolphin, and it's truly because we resonate with those animals. So an easiest way to be in touch with a spirit guide that's an animal is think, like everybody can do this right now that's out there listening. Think to yourself of an animal. Doesn't matter if it's wild. It could be a mammal. I mean, a mammal, animal. It could be a fish, amphibian. It could be a reptile. It could be anything. Okay, cryptid. Think of what you feel really attracted to, that really excites you. What animal do you feel so passionate about? Well, I also like cats, so I have a big cat as one of my animals too. And I have an owl as well. So think about what those animals are you really are attracted to, and then try to narrow it down to one or two. And then see if it just, you think about it. What do you feel? What kind of feelings do you get from that animal? What kind of images do you receive? Let's say you focused on the bear. A lot of people have the bear as their spirit guide. It is a powerful animal. It is strong. It's well respected in the animal kingdom. It's top of the food chain out there, and they're amazing, majestic creatures. And they symbolize it's the animal of the state of California. It's a powerful bear, powerful animal, powerful guide. And you start to think about the bear and what does it resonate with you? I feel like one of your animals is the bear. James, as we're talking, I feel like you resonate with the bear. And so you would start to go, what does that mean to me? What do I like about the bear? And once you start making that connection, then you just got to be open. And you what you have to do is let them come to you. You can't force this. So it might even be a week or months go by, or maybe just a couple days where you might, be somewhere in public where all of a sudden you see a big sign of a bear. You go, bear's showing up here. What's the message? Then you get a license plate. It says a message in the license plate. You read it. You go, oh, interesting. You just kind of have to follow the breadcrumbs or or follow the yellow brick road until you get there. And so it's always the way the guides work. It's not always a direct route, although it can be, but a lot of times it's more of a journey that they take you on, and you just got to be prepared to be open to the messages and how they show up. So what I highly recommend to people as they start on this journey of meeting your guides is you could start with the animals. Number one, they're easier to connect with because everybody loves animals, and so they're not intimidating. And so be open to that. Let the animals come to you however they may. You may be out and a lot of feral cats come to you. Maybe a cat is one of your animals. Maybe you see a lot of crows. Maybe a crow is your animal. Maybe it's a mouse, a field mice. Just be open to how they come to you. And I always say when you do this work, because you will not remember what you're doing, whether you're doing dreams or talking to your spirit guides or, meditating, is to keep a spirit journal. You can call it your spirit guide journal or just a spirit journal, but keep a journal where you start writing these things down. It doesn't have to be every day, but you write down your experience as you're beginning to get these images and feelings and thoughts and connections and patterns and resonance and synchronicities. And then as you start looking back upon it, you can kind of find that golden thread that weaves it all together. And then you begin to understand more about your guides, and you'll realize they've been talking to you all along. It's really quite fascinating how this unfolds.
Yeah, that's something I've never really looked at, and I think it's something that I'm going to have to put on my list of to-dos.
I think you should. I think you should, because you're having so many experiences with these other dimensions. I mean, from your ET guide to your sensations, to your card readings, to the animals that are coming through in the cards. I mean, these are. I got some chills through my whole body, James. This is really important stuff for you, and to even go further with it. And I think keeping that journal, which is a personal, private thing, you don't necessarily share it with anybody. I think you're going to find that it's going to help you go even deeper into these truths for yourself.
Yeah, it's baby steps. I was told that I asked a very, very good sensitive how long it's going to be before I actually start understanding what my gifts are and being in a little bit more control and trusting them. And I was told it was about a year ago, or no, about 8 months ago, I was told 2 years. Oh. And it was like, why? What I want to do it now? And she said, no, well, I'm being told you're far from ready. I'd probably plots if it'll hit me like I want it to. It would be like a little kid with a machine gun. It was like I'd be running around shooting the thing, and I have no idea how to use it. It is the baby steps, and it's like the building blocks in a wall, and I'm still working on mixing the mortar at this point. One of the guys in the chat room, Len Dorman, he was told by someone that his spirit guide is his biological father, as he was adopted, and he showed her a gun, and he was born near Fort Benning, Georgia, so he might have been a soldier there, and also found a red-tailed hawk feather once by a tree, like it was placed there, and he was just, do you have an opinion on something like that? It was
absolutely, I do.
Yeah.
I'm reading the message too, Len. I'm sorry I missed it, but I'm glad you put it in caps, because now we can go back and I found it. Okay, so I do not believe your biological father is your spirit guide. I do think he's a guide, though. Your spirit guides tend to be of another dimension, another order. But your biological father is near. I feel that for you. But I believe he is there watching over you. So in a sense, he is like a guide. So keep that conversation going. The red-tailed hawk feather, I feel like it was placed by him. I feel like that's his way of connecting to you. Now, let's see. I'm gonna assume you don't actually get red-tailed hawk feathers all the time, but this one is a special one, and you did notice that anyway because you picked it up. It looks like good. Did you pick the feather up? Because I get a feeling that you have that feather. I don't know if you can tell us back if you did or not.
It's a bit of a delay. There's about a 30-second delay before
we'll let
they can
him answer us too. But
yeah.
no, I believe his biological father is watching over him as a guiding principle, as a person that really cares about him now, and he cares about him so much now on the other side that he's able to do that for him, where he couldn't necessarily do it maybe in life as much as he wanted to. He wasn't available, but now he is, and so he's doing what he wanted to do there, which is really cool. So yeah, whatever comments you have. No, first time I have it in a yes. Okay. So he did keep that feather. Yeah, absolutely. I see that you had that in your possession. That's beautiful. It's special. It's very special. It's like a gift from spirit.
Yeah, that is very cool. And John has a question. Do you suppose that every human comes here or is born with a list of things they need to accomplish?
Yeah, it's kind of becoming with certain proclivities and abilities. And yes, we come here with something in mind that we want to explore this kind of experience. We want to be born to this kind of family. We choose our families. We choose our experience. We choose the people that we believe are going to help us do the next set of our evolution we need to go through. The next set of our growth. Mm-hmm. And this comes from my experience of a past life therapist. When I did past life regression with people, we would go into the in-between life and past lives and go in between and find out why do they have that life? What's their next life supposed to be? And even into future lives. So yes, we come in here with an idea, what we want to experience, but allowing fate to unfold, allowing choices to unfold. It gives us freedom of free will, and it gives us the ability to shift stuff if we choose to too. So we do come with proclivities and abilities. And I really fully believe that we can find out what those are within us if we really look at those things. Again, it's like meeting your spirit guides, your animal guides. What do you feel the greatest passion about? What really moves you to the point of excitement, joy? And when you think about it, when you do it, when you experience it, you lose track of time, you lose track of space, you feel so complete. Those are all clues and cues of things that you came into this earth, this existence right now is who you are. John Connor or Lynn Dorman or Andrew James O'Brien or Tripping Fool or James Tyson or Karen Dahlman. These are things we came to do, and each one is unique. And we're being asked by our higher self. This is when you start connecting more with your higher self, that will help you, support you to live out those expressions of your soul. And yes, that's what we have within us. And when we find those things and start expressing them more into the world, we begin to find that our life becomes more synchronistically guided, becomes sometimes easier. It doesn't mean you don't have ups and downs. Those don't go away. That's part of the process of evolution you've chosen. It just means that you have more experiences where you begin to feel more aligned with why you're here, with your true sense of higher self and that soul agreement of why you came here in this experience.
Oh, very cool. And has your path been laid out for you that you've seen?
Yes, absolutely. At a very young, this is so interesting because, we go around and around in circles and we end up coming full circle back. So when I was a little child, I wanted to be some kind of teacher or an artist, and I always wanted to talk to spirits. Now, okay, how do you tell somebody that when you're really young back in the 70s, early 70s, mid 70s, and even early 80s? And then I found out through the library that they had such a thing called parapsychology. Ooh, I could study to become a psychologist that actually studies ghosts, studies the paranormal. Wow. Because I was like, I'm already in communication with them. This would be great. I can actually make a living doing this. So as I went to school, I found out the schools I ended up choosing to go to, which the only ones I could afford was an in-state tuition, didn't have such stuff. So I found myself still going into that direction of helping people. I've always been an artist, and so I was kind of following these things and became a therapist and still did my work with spirit, and then did a lot of technical stuff. And I have a business in the cell tower industry. So I kind of left it a little bit, but I didn't really leave it all. And here I am full circle coming back now saying what I really loved and felt passionate about from the very early age is communicating with the other spirits, communicating within the other dimensions, and sharing that with people so they can make these contacts and connections too. And so, yes, I have come full circle to that. Am I 100% doing it now? No, but I'm moving in that direction. But it's interesting. Those things that you really loved and liked as a child are somehow woven into those proclivities you came here to express. And so my goal is to really be in that space and to help people also be in that space of really uncovering those, unearthing those, and allowing those to play out within your life.
Okay. That's, I think, one of the things that we'd all like to know. It comes down to those base questions. Why am I here and where am I going?
Yes.
And to actually get those answers, it scares me a bit because it comes down to I think if I get to know too much, then I may not be needed here anymore. And then I have to leave. And I'm actually having a good time here. I know I'm not afraid to pass now, but I know that I still have things here to do.
You know what? You never will, because we're human. We're here first to have a human experience, and my guides remind me of this always. They said, never discount your humanity. Never discount your human experience. They said, we know you love these other dimensions, but never think they're better, bigger, greater than you. They're just different than you. And your experience here, we're all back here in awe, watching all you all that are here on Earth, allowing your life to unfold in awe, in amazement, just thinking we're the greatest things ever, because they're saying you came here and chose to come here, and we're the chosen few who got to come through and express yourself in a dense material place, knowing you forget most of everything you are, and still come with such courage to live out your dreams. And whether or not you find those dreams, they said you never will fully get it. There's very few of us that have reached that level of adepts or of sages. You know, we might think Jesus Christ is one of those, Buddha, maybe there's maybe the Dalai Lama, I don't know, Mother Teresa, I don't know. There's many out there who have done great feats, maybe will not come back. But trust me, most of us will never know everything, and we won't have to leave because of that purpose or that reason. We really are here because it's not like you get everything unfolds and you know everything, but you have a certain, I like the word you used before, confidence in the direction you're moving, or confidence in trusting yourself. But, as humans, it's hard to always trust the unknown and the unseen, because we've been told that that's not out there, or that's not right, or that's scary, or you should fear it. But we are learning to move back into that space with our minds, with our hearts, with our energy centers. And don't worry, James, we will never get it all where you'll have to poof disappear. Most of us will not, and they don't want us to poof disappear. They're learning a lot from us as we navigate through this deeper realm of material. It's heavy. It's a heavy realm. It's a heavy, second, third dimension moving into fourth, fifth. It's really a dense matter, and they're just in awe watching us.
Yeah. So am I half the time.
I am too. I'm just amazed.
Yeah. It's one of those weird things that I look at it as stepping back and watching other people, where I've always done that. I have always been a people watcher. Before I was a Mountie, I spent 4 years doing kind of policing and security on a public transit system. So I'd ride a bus in a real crappy neighborhood for 10 hours a day. And it was like going to the circus. Because really, it was just all these different energies in people, and it was just great. And now I'm finally looking at myself and looking inward, which has been completely different for me. And it's something that I'm, sometimes I'm mostly happy. There's a lot of things that I'd like to go back and fix, and things that I said in the past that I really shouldn't have, but, we're all learning. I'm learning.
No, we all are learning. I have to interrupt you there. We all are learning, and when we think we got something figured out, there's something more. It's like my spirit guides always remind me, and this is something they're not the ones that say it. Many great sages say this. It's like, happiness is in the path, not the destination. It truly is. It's through the journey, and when we think we've arrived, we never arrive, because there's always so much more to explore. We'll never get it all, and that's what we're born many, many times often in this realm, in this physical density, or on other planets, or in other universes, in other star constellations, because we have other things to learn and evolve. And so it's always a process. We're never there. Even when we get to these other dimensions, and let's say you're talking to spirit guides from the 7th, 8th, 9th dimension, they're still evolving too. It's like an infinite process of evolving. So don't worry. You have a lot of chances, and we all do, to get it right.
Yeah. Because as a policeman, I've bumped into a lot of very sad people who have taken a left instead of a right, based on our free will. And a lot of those people are very highly sensitive people. The voices they hear are most likely real voices. There's some good ones and there's some lower ones. And it depends which ones they were listening to and what doctor they went to that said, I'm kind of hearing voices. Oh, here, take all these pills.
Yeah,
and you'll never be able to work and, live in a shelter in some Skid Row area and hope you survive. And I feel bad for them. I feel my divination is, and this has only come over in the last couple of years, is to identify other people that are sensitive or empaths. And I can pick them out of a crowd like that. It's amazing now. Mm-hmm. I can bump into somebody and look at them and say, and I can go through and basically tell them how they grew up, what they felt, what times they wake up and in the middle of the night, and they're looking at me like, how do you know all this stuff? But I think that's what I'm supposed to do.
That's really a clever thing. And you mentioned earlier how you love to be a people watcher and you would ride the bus and see all these things. Yeah, really, that was like everything we do is a stepping stone, whether we know it or not. If you can look back in and follow those breadcrumbs back, you're going to see how everything built upon the last thing. You may not see the connections while you're doing it, but you can always, hindsight's great. So you can see that connectivity of you sitting there watching people and then you being a Mountie and then all these things, how they've led you now. You did those outside work to really now be able to go inward and discern that out there with others. I mean, can you see that, how that's also connected to what you're doing now?
Yeah. And a number of the things when I look back, I could probably still do it, but I could stand on a busy road. And I remember doing this. With a friend of mine, I got to the movie too early, so we had to kill some time. So we were standing in a busy downtown area, and I said, look across the street. What do you see? And she said, just a bunch of people. And I said, yeah, and I pointed out like half a dozen people that were had a completely different energy than everybody else. And I looked at them and I said, look at their age and their stature. And they're all undercover policemen. And all of a sudden, like with the drop of the hat, there was a big bust. All these police converged on 3 or 4 other people whose energy was completely different, very relaxed along with all their buddies, and scooped them up, and that was the arrest. But you could see, and she says, I don't understand how you can see that. And I said, their energy, or to me, it was like glowing lights. And even as a younger kid, I could be in a bar and know that person to the left out of 100 people and person to the right with like maybe 50 people in between them, they were going to fight each other because their energy was completely different than everybody else's. And,
yes.
And I was in Vegas with a friend of mine from California, and I said, okay, watch this. And she said, what? And all of a sudden, these 2 guys ran through the parking lot, and one guy took a shot at the other one. And she said, how'd you know that was going to happen? I said, out of all these people here, they were glowing in the dark. They're not physically glowing, but they just came out of nowhere, and I knew something really interesting was going to happen. So I've always been able to do that. And now I'm finding other people, and I'm pointing it out to them that they can do it and taking them back into their own history. And they're saying, oh yeah, I never really noticed that, but you're right. I do see that. But I thought everyone
that's
could.
That's absolutely stunning. And to be able to, because there's one of your abilities and talents and proclivities that you came to this planet with, and you used it throughout your career, it sounds like too, and just your personal life, you're now using it even more so. So yeah, that's beautiful. That's a great example of how you are allowing these things to unfold for you. And it's all about timing. As I learned too, gosh, I would love to have this and this and do this and this at this point. And they're telling me, Karen, it's timing, and you will see why once you get a little further down this road this way. So it's kind of cool in that sense to, know that everything it comes at the right time.
Yeah, it is kind of weird. It's a weird thing, and one of the worst weird things is we're coming up to the end of the show, Karen.
Oh, darn it. It always goes by so quickly, does it not?
It does. And when people say, oh, I'm going to come on for 2 hours, what am I going to talk about? Well,
I never say that because you and I just go at it.
I know. Man, we'd be a couple of people you don't want having dinner with because you'd never get a word in edgewise.
No, we'd be like this for like 5-6 hours.
I know. This would be very cool. We should have a sleepover.
We should.
Not in your backyard, though, because it's like totally creepy.
Yeah, come eat my snake.
Yeah, come eat my snake. No. I'm afraid that's not going to happen, young lady.
Dang it.
There's no snakes going to be met in my area. Well, it's been one of those nights where I'm leaving and I don't want to because there's so many other questions. I want to talk. Oh, we should go overtime. Yeah. Okay. You got another 5 or 10 minutes?
I do.
Okay. We're going to, everybody sit down, relax, take a deep breath. Karen, you grew up as a Catholic or in a Catholic family.
That's correct.
How does what you've experienced spiritually meld with the beliefs that you were brought up with?
Well, that's a really great question because it's something that I really thought about. I wrote about it in one of my books, The Spirits of Ouija, a little bit. I touched on that. See, so, I was raised in a very Catholic family. We did everything that Catholics did, and we had our little crucifixes in every room and had our rosary beads and said our Hail Marys and Our Fathers, and I went to confessional booth, everything. I did it all. So for me, my parents, like I said, they were really cool in this sense. No fear was ever put down my throat, shoved down my throat or put on me because I had a Ouija board, and of course Santa Claus gave it to me. So it was very much accepted that they thought it was like a game, but they didn't, even if they didn't think it was a game, it was cool that I had it because it was something that I really wanted to use. And I was a good kid. It wasn't like I was out there raising Cain or anything, and I was doing the Catholic way and all that stuff. My mom, she went to a parochial school, and then she also went to a Catholic college. I mean, we were pretty extreme and devout Catholics for a lot of my younger years when I was having all these experiences. For me, because they talk about it like with Catholicism, they talk about how spirits came to them and spoke to them and came from above, and that angels came, and the Catholics really believe in guardian angels. Well, that's perfect because I see guardians in my room, and I have angels, and I have my little spirit friend Daki, and I know when people die, they can talk to me because I talk to them all the time, and they talk about an afterlife. It to me fit in perfectly. To me, it corroborated my sense of religion, because when I couldn't get answers of who created God and who was first, chicken or the egg, God or what, I could find those answers myself through communicating with different beings on the other side. And so for me, I felt like it went hand in hand. It fit like a really nice glove, and it never seemed to be discrediting that, or it never seemed to be hurting that. Yet I did find that there was kids that come over for my sleepover, and they said, you can go to Karen Dahlman's house, but don't you play that Ouija board. And I always thought, what? Your parents say that? Why? They're like, well, they say it's evil. And I go, what do you think? They go, no. I said, okay, we won't do Ouija board, but we'll play light as a feather and stiff as a board. We'll do other spiritual things is what I would say. We're going to talk to why not? So for me, there was really no problem with it. I would say now, as I left the Catholic Church when I was younger, and I have a respect for what I learned though from that. But yet I could see why other religions might look at this and say, it's evil because that's what they've been told. They were told you couldn't speak to divine beings yourself. You're not pure enough. You're not good enough. You have to go through an intermediary. So I could see where that disjunct might be, but not for me. It fit great.
Well, I just had to say goodbye to the Revolution Radio, but I missed the goodbye. But we're still here. Hey, Karen, the connection of, I know we have one of our longtime listeners is Catholic, and there's always that, and there's always me picking on the Catholics because I kept running into, they're demonologists. So every time I talked about going out doing a paranormal investigation. Well, they're all demons. Well, no, they're not. So there's this swing of everything's a demon. Everything that you think is a ghost or an angel or energy is Satan's trick. He's tricking you, and he's lying. So if your grandmother comes through to you and say that she's okay and she loves you and everything's all right and disappears, that's Satan tricking you. So that would be interesting. That's a stupid trick, Satan. So,
well, James, I get that all the time. People say, "How do you know it's not Satan tricking you?" I go, "Well, Satan's been kind to me for almost 43 years, and he's been nothing but giving me wonderful messages that help me become the best I can be. So if that's Satan, heck yeah, I want that." So yeah, that's the part about Catholicism that it never affected me when I was younger. I stayed out of that. For me, somehow I just shielded myself from that stuff. And it's truly the ones that are more fanatics within that Catholic tradition that do the whole demonology thing. And so I think all Catholics get a bad rap for that because not all believe in it, and they think it's more what's the word I'm trying to say? Happens a lot less than they're making it happen. And so nowadays, everybody in paranormal investigation, not all the investigators by no means, but many people say they're demonologists. I mean, really? So this is what I say, James, about that. I don't even believe in demons. I don't even believe in evil. I believe in bad behavior by people and energies that have mischievous and other agendas, and they're negative. We all came from the same source, and the same source is always a very light, energetic, high being of love, period, love and light. And so when somebody becomes negative and bad and horrific, Hitler or whatever, those kind of people, somebody who goes out, serial killer, etc., what they've done is they've lost control of their own light within, and they've blocked it. And so now they see themselves as really bad, and they just continue to act on those same kind of energies they surround themselves with. So yes, they become negative, and people become evil and bad. But inside, inherently, no, I don't believe in it. So I have a big disjunct with the Catholic practice that does this whole demonology, and many people that pursue that. Because what I say and what I feel about that is that they are bringing that energy forth to them when the energy does not need to exist. They're vibrating more with the whole negative field or the whole dark field, which light and dark I both need. I'm not against dark and I'm not against light. Beautiful things happen in the dark. The moon is of the dark, and the moon is of a beautiful light form, and we need both to know one against the other. We have to understand both polarities. But when you just gravitate to one polarity, whether it's all Pollyanna and rosy or all negative, you're going to get that energy. I try to stay more in the middle and welcome both forms, yet I bring in energy that's going to help support me in my growth and evolution. And so people that believe this demonology thing, they're going to draw that to them. They're going to draw demons to them. They're going to make everything out, as you just said, James, into that it's evil and bad. And guess what? In their mind and their filters of their mind, that's what their experience is going to be. And their experience in life will follow suit. And everything they do will begin to follow the suit of that energy. And everything they see is seen through the filters of demons. Why? Yeah. That's not necessary. It's not necessary.
I think it's the fear of the unknown.
Correct.
Yeah.
The fear of the unknown.
If I don't know it, you're a witch. You're a witch. You're bad. Therefore, we have to deal with you. It's silly, and I think that's just as we get smarter, as the world communicates with itself better than it used to. Like literally, we've got people from Australia in the chat room right now with people from the U.S. and Canada. It's
so cool.
We can connect with anyone around the world. I had callers to my two mediums in a large show from Africa. It was amazing, India and Africa. So it's different from back in the dark ages when the world was very small and a lot of small minds and couldn't imagine the big picture. So yeah, you're a witch because you act differently, and our crops failed when you sneezed, so we're going to have to burn you at the snake. Burn you at the snake.
Damn,
a
snake on your mind.
Again. Oh yeah, I won't be sleeping tonight. Thanks, Karen.
You're welcome.
But that's what we've turned into. We've turned into this whole. We've evolved into more of a communicative planet, a group that is interacting a lot more, and I think it's coming. What do you think? Okay, Cher, our Catholic, she's I'm a Catholic, and you know it. I don't think everything is demons. Where have you been? We were just talking about that, Char.
I think we're in a delay. She's probably getting it now, but yeah, I totally agree.
Okay, yeah.
Char's absolutely right. I agree with that. Not all of it's more the extreme sex. Then exactly. That's good. We want to make sure of that because a lot of Catholics are just like, that's way overdone.
Yeah,
the demonic stuff.
Yeah, the demon thing is just crazy, silly. Where was I going with that? Oh yeah, so we're now more connected, and I think there is something afoot. There's something coming where people are enlightening. Like mine came in 2012. There are more and more people. There's more people talking about stuff like this, Karen. Like you've been doing this for 43 years. Mm-hmm. Look back 25 years ago. Was this something you could openly talk about at a cocktail party and not people looking at you like you were from Mars?
No, absolutely not. In fact, back then I was practicing as a psychotherapist and I couldn't even talk about this in my practice or hang a shingle. Yet I did let people know I was a past life regression therapist in addition to my psychotherapy work. And so people came to me for that. That was pretty out there to say you did past life therapy. But to say you spoke to the spirits and could see them and had a Ouija board, that was like a no-no. So the very first book I wrote, The Spirit of Creativity, written back then, I was told by my spirit guides who helped me write that book, said, do not mention us, do not mention the board because, this is not going to be met well. We want people to take your writing seriously. It wasn't until my book in 2012 came out, The Spirits of Ouija, I could actually open up and say these things. I was undercover. I didn't let this out. I didn't tell everybody I was doing this. I didn't even tell, I hid a lot of it from my family. Of course, they know everything now, but I just knew, and especially in professional circles of the therapy industry and then the professional circles of my cell tower work that I do now, I don't broadcast that there. Yet when I took a chance, and it was in 2012, and my very first show I did was Coast to Coast with George Norrie. My book came out, and I took a chance there knowing that is around the world, right? And so I knew that was, I'm going to come out. I couldn't hide it anymore. And at that point, the culture has changed. Society has changed. People's awakening has opened and people are more open to talking about this. And now it's more acceptable. So I was like, what the heck? This is it. This is who I am. This is what I've been doing all these years, and I have some really cool, fun, positive, helpful things to say to people about this so they too can make these connections, not necessarily Ouija board, but can learn that they're not alone and how that might help them in their life. So yeah, I couldn't say it 20, 25 years ago. And it's just, for me, it's been just a gradual coming out of the closet, if you will, in the last, 4 or 5 years.
It's coming out of the psychic closet.
Coming out of the psychic closet, that's it.
Exactly. And what's really cool, you don't have to open the door.
You don't.
You just float out. Hello.
Hi, we're here.
Oh, never mind. Hey, why do you think things are getting clearer for people? Why do you think people's vibrations are raising in the last, let's say, 5-6 years?
There are many different reasons for that, but I think the main ones that we can talk about is everything is changing, everything's evolving. It's becoming a what would you call it? Law of critical mass. When we reach that certain mass or that level of consciousness where enough people believe in the same thing or can awaken themselves or being awakened maybe by auspicious energies such as astrological or planetary alignments or precession of the equinoxes they talk about or the ages, you find that the law of critical mass allows you, enough people do that, to open us all up. And what's happening, enough of us have done that. We tip the scale in the direction of awakening, of coming back into our empowerment, our power centers. We were there before, millions of years ago. We've been here before as different people that have been evolved or incarnated on this planet. We just stumble, we go into it and we leave it for different reasons. And we're in that stage again, that place again, where we have a chance to be closer to the unseen and be able to awaken to this. And because we all are doing it, it helps the rest of us who may not be quite in that space to all of a sudden start having these emergences as well.
Well, that's very cool.
It is.
Yeah, some simply are saying, oh, we're all enlightening because there's a horrid thing going to happen and the only people that are going to survive are those who have a higher vibration. And I just kind of think, oh, come on.
I don't find that either. I don't. Why would somebody be selective for you? I really don't believe it. My spirit guides tell me that either. That's not. They say, it's really what you believe within your heart, and everybody really in their heart has light. So why would some be selected over the other? And it's like the Old Testament versus the New Testament in the Bible. Do we have a mean, ugly, wrathful God, or do we have a loving God? And I believe the truth is we have a loving energy, a source of all that we've come from, and it's not going to let any others go. Yet we all have our free will to see the world as we choose to see it. And right now, two people could be in the same room at the same time and have an experience happen, but one will explain it as, oh my God, that happened again. Another one will say, wow, that was the most coolest thing that could have happened. So our filters and who we are really tells us what our experiences are going to be and really sets us up to have the experiences we're going to have. And so therefore, the control of what's going to happen to us in our lives in terms of, are we going to be here to awaken? Are we going to be here to go back to sleep? That's really our choice. But because enough of us are doing it, the rest of us are going to influence the rest of us to go in that direction too.
Yeah, I think that's what...
Monkey. I'm sorry, somebody just said it. Andrew said it in the room. It's the 12 monkey theory. Absolutely. Ken Keyes wrote about this. He says that the monkeys were living on these different islands. And there's a lot of water between these different islands. And there's no way a monkey could have flown or jumped to these other islands, or they don't have boats. But this group of monkeys on this one island started washing their coconuts in the water with their hands, or whatever you want, their hands, yeah. And then next thing you know, more of them did it on that same island. And within so much time, because the researchers were studying these monkeys, noticed that other monkeys on other islands that were totally separate from these first group of monkeys were washing their coconuts too. And all of them were starting to do it. And at one point, every single monkey on all these different islands were washing their coconuts the same way. So they believe that is through the law of critical mass, that enough people do it, enough species does it, then they all will be affected by that. Rupert Sheldrake talks about the same phenomenon too in some of his research.
Oh, wow.
It's very cool. Thank you, Andrew, for that. That's exactly what it's called, the 12 monkey syndrome, and it's by Ken Keyes. And look up Rupert Sheldrake too, because he's done a lot of work and research into this whole concept of species and the law of critical mass.
That's cool from Andrew because he is a monkey. Oh, sorry, no, he's Australian. He was one of the two.
Right, I like that.
Hey, Karen, your work that you do to create an income that feeds you and runs the Karen household. How much time do you have to do that and write and do your sessions? Like, are you booked pretty well, like 9 to 5 or 9 to 9?
Well, okay, so yeah, I do a lot of different things, as you said, and so it gets tricky. So what happens with me in my career, because I have my own business, I can let it wax and wanes at time, and so when I'm more in the downtime, I have more time to do more of the creative stuff, the books, and then do more of the sessions or things I write, the articles, the website, and all that stuff. And then other times when I'm doing my other traditional work in the day, my day job, I call it. I focus on that. So right now I'm really busy with that, but I'm still finding time because I love sharing the messages and the work, to do the radio shows. I'm doing more of that right now. A few sessions here and there. It's not booked because I'm so busy during the day. Try not to spread myself too thin. And I want to be available for those clients or whatever clients I have or the writing I do. So I'm balancing them all out. Having said that, though, too, I am definitely moving in a direction where I will be able to do this work we're talking about tonight full time. So that will eventually happen. It's all,
very cool.
Just like you, James, it's all about timing. We want it now, but it's a process. And I realize everything I'm doing to get to that process is really a journey of itself. And I'm learning so much. So yeah, it's actually a beautiful unfolding like a flower. Well, can't pick it too soon.
That's really cool because I look at it and I retire kind of on paper next week, October 7th.
Oh my God.
Then I'm taking holidays till January 4th because they owe me a ton of money for leave that I haven't used. And if I get paid this year, I get taxed up my yin yang. So I'll take the holidays until the next year for tax purposes. So I'm kind of in that flux, like, what am I going to do now? And I'm thinking of all sorts. I'd probably go back into acting and because there's lots of movies filmed around here now. So I'm probably going to do that. But I just want something relaxing and non-policing.
Yeah.
and not having to supervise a whole bunch of young policemen, which is like herding cats. And, and a good chunk of them are empaths and have no idea. And it was like, it's just frustrating. So it's now that time where I just want to kick back and say, okay, I've done that, and I want to put a little bit more time into and energy into finding out who I am, and then seeing if I can help more people.
Oh,
because
it's beautiful.
It's all about helping, and I'm done. I'm done helping for 28 years as a policeman. Mm-hmm. And I believe that every time I interacted with somebody, I know a lot of them felt that it was negative, but at the end of the day, if they look back, they're going, "Oh, okay." I feel my job as a policeman is like the bumpers on a little kid's bowling lane, and all I do is, like, as the ball goes over, I go bunk, bunk, and I move it back over to the middle, and another policeman goes bunk, and eventually they get down to the end, and without going into the gutter. If they end up going into the gutter, I did my job wrong, and it's one of those weird conundrums where you're winding down from that, and and with the paranormal investigations, I always say that, yeah, I've seen dead people as a policeman, and doing a paranormal investigation, I see dead people again. They're just different.
True.
Yeah.
In a different way. You're right.
Yeah. And I know that as a policeman, I used to go to a sudden death, and I'd have to wait there till body removal came along, and I would talk to the dead person. I don't think they were talking back to me, but who knows? I don't know what was coming into my mind at that time. I'm looking back at the years I did it, but I did it so I wouldn't freak out that I was hanging around with a dead person.
Pretty amazing, actually. And I know they were communicating to you. It's like we just don't always understand it at the moment, like you said. That's just amazing work you did. And I want to say congratulations to you and good luck with this. This is a fabulous time that you're in, and an opportunity to really move into, as somebody said here, follow your heart, James. That's exactly right. And that is your true passion. And I think you're in that area, you're doing it. This is why guess what I'm hearing? This is why the female guide is coming to you now. It's the time to accept that the deep femininity within you, and she's going to help you bring that whole spirituality into your work.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah, very cool.
My energy and my sensitivity I get from my mother's side of the family, and my goosebumps and everything are on my left side.
That's actually the
female side.
Yes, yeah. Very, very good.
Yeah, it's my left cheek, my left arm, my left side. I had a spirit walk through me once, which was very strange. That was my full back goosebumps. And then imagine goosebumps going through your body, hitting every organ, and then coming out the front and going down my arm. Oh, you should see my left arm now. Just totally goosebumps.
Yeah, I bet.
I had an EMF meter, which, you're familiar with those?
I do, so I am.
And they don't light up when you put them up a human being. And I had this on my side, and my buddy Mike was videotaping it, and the thing was right up into the green on my side as she went through me, and then she kissed me on the cheek twice, which starts as a little tiny goosebump and then expands about to the side of like the bottom of a cup, and then it stopped, and it happened again, and I looked at my buddy Mike and I said, "Mike, she just kissed me," and he said, "Oh, that's really cool." Very nice spirit in a house from 1910 that liked to live there. So hopefully this new spirit guide of mine likes riding a motorcycle, because that's what I do in the summer. I take long trips.
But they don't necessarily ride it with you, but they're always with you. They don't need to get on the motorcycle themselves, but they're going to.
Oh, come on.
You know what the spirit guides tell me? They love it when we are feeling joy. It gives them, if they could smile, they would smile. They tell me, they say, we can't smile because we don't have mouths. They said, but if we could, we would, because when you feel joy, and I know that motorcycle gives you joy because I follow you on Facebook, and we communicate, so I know what's happening with you on the bike. It's like they're saying that brings them great joy and they know that allows you to follow your passion in the moment. And they say, ride on, ride on.
Cool. As long as I don't get hurt, I'm fine.
That's right. Be safe.
Now, do you have to go night-nights?
Yes, I do really soon.
Okay. Well, tell you what, I'll let you go, Karen. And I want to thank you very much for dropping in. It's always a pleasure to talk to you. And actually, it's a pleasure to listen to you because you're just absolutely fantastic. You're fascinating with all the experiences you've had. I really have to hit you up about a past life because I'm trying to find out what my name was. I know I was a pilot in the Luftwaffe in the Second World War.
Oh.
And I know where I lived. I know how I passed after the war of respiratory problems in a hospital. But I need to know more. I'm just like, I want to know more about this guy.
Wow. Very cool. Very, very cool.
Yeah.
Well, what I want to say to you, and listen, thank you, everybody that's been a live chat or who's listening in. I just want to say thank you for joining us tonight and for your questions and just your energy. I can feel the energy. Everybody's really supportive of this program. And James, it's always a pleasure to speak with you. I thoroughly enjoy my time here. We have such a great, interesting, always lively conversation. So, I just feel so honored to be here and be a guest with you again. So thank you so much for having me.
Oh, we're I feel like those little chipmunks, the Disney chipmunks. Oh no, you go first. No, you please go first. Because I'm just giddy when you show up. So it's great. I absolutely love it when you're here. And again, thank you for your work and your energy. And thank you on behalf of all my listener. Thank you on behalf of my listener and all the people who came into the chat room tonight. And you're absolutely a wonderful person to kick around. And I'd love to take you home with me, but you live too far away. So,
and I have snakes.
And you have snakes. Yes, it's like it's your way of having a moat. It's like Jim's not getting anywhere close to here. It's like it's good. And I want to thank everybody and tune in tomorrow night for a young lady named Corby Mitlide. Another fantastic psychic who was actually, in her past life, a World War I pilot in Germany. And for all you out there, please just keep an open mind.
This is our last goodbye. Young hearts will stop. Torn souls set free. All that we have is now. If this is what you want, then come to me.
All right, that's it. Let's roll. And hey! Let's be careful out there.
Far over the snow, what are those voices? They sing as they go. What are those voices? Look up for the mountain. Because somebody died, somebody better hide on through the hill like a pack of angry wolves on the trail. We are after you, dead or alive. We are out to get you, dead or alive. And forget your soul. If you're the one, better run away. Son, you are done. Throw your gun away. Here come the Mounties to get the man they're after now. Run through the hill like a pack of angry wolves on the trail. Dead or alive, we are out to get you, dead or alive.
I'm sorry, Dave. I'm afraid I can't do that.
Dave's not here!